Go live. Well, hello, chat. You know, when we click go live,
it takes a second.
Yeah, sometimes it goes live 10 seconds in the past, and other times it doesn't. So we're just hanging out, drinking coffee, waiting for YouTube to do its thing, because it only shows us like 10 minutes later.
Hopefully the sound is good. We were having to fuss with that a little bit. OBS, not happy.
Good Lord. Good Lord.
Okay.
Good Lord, what a week last week.
Everyone's saying yay, so I'm assuming the audio is okay.
Well, we haven't switched scenes yet. That's always
That was what we were testing, yeah. Woo-woo! Amazing background. It's a mountain, but you can only see the one corner of it. We didn't resize it. Let's just not mess with it anymore, though.
Yeah, it's fine. Although I have to say, OBS on Manjaro is much better than Ubuntu, but it still leaves a lot to be desired.
It's all working. Okay, great. Fantastic.
Excellent sound with the compressor. So this is the not a drunk show. No, the next couple of weeks are going to be weird because next week is a holiday week in the U.S. Or no, not next week. The week after.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to be out on Friday because I have to go to a meeting.
You've been gone like it feels like you travel every week right now.
Yeah, and it's just slammed at the end of everybody's got cabin fever. And so it's like, let's all meet in person because we all have cabin fever. It's just like, oh, come on now.
Also, someone asked if this is going to be the drunk news. No. That is end of year only, once a year. Oh, that's making me real nervous.
It's fine.
Well,
so what do we got for today?
Well, we always have. It's all at one.
Government and...
But it's everything. There is no... segmentation. Well, I mean, there's segmentation, but it's if you wait long enough, it's everything. So, yeah, we will start with the government, as is the tradition.
This is all your news this week, too, by the way. So if you know,
yeah, space it out if you need to.
Yeah, you can always
keep
come back.
this up in a tab so that way we get the viewership numbers.
Yeah,
you are contractually obligated to not get news from any other sources after this. So, just this.
Clamp down on your social media, everything.
Don't even check the weather.
Don't get links from other sources.
Oh, that's a tough bargain to not check the weather.
Oh, yeah. I got to do a different Wi-Fi.
We're supposed to get more snow this week, chat.
Why are you getting so excited about
because I'm a child.
Inclement weather?
I like snow. Who doesn't like snow? People who have to drive in it, but other than people who don't have to drive.
Well, let's start out with, this is not a new story. We had already kind of talked about this, but... this man has now been questioned about it. He talked his way around it, but I think he might be deceptive.
Yes, yes, he did.
Oh, there it is.
The reversed in this one, it drives me crazy.
Internal documents show how close the FBI came to deploying spyware. Yeah, you're also in the background. That was how we fixed the audio levels.
It's not really a fix. It's just kind of a fix.
Hello. Yeah, I got nothing.
That's great. Like if the story is really bad, I could be over here like, what?
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, they sat him down and they said, hey bro, we heard some rumors about all this stuff. And he was like, well, of course this is Christopher Wray, by the way, I'm talking about. He was like, of course we bought a copy of that. How could we not buy a copy of that? We're the FBI, but we're only looking at it to see what the bad people are doing with it.
That was exactly the quote in the article too, the bad people.
That was a lie.
Now he claims they never deployed it. I don't believe him.
They said they were thinking about it, but yeah. This is fun though because Ron Wyden is on to him, and Ron Wyden says, "I feel this is really misleading." He doesn't outright say that it's a lie, but it really was misleading. And when you have the FBI misleading Congress about things,
you have business as usual.
Yeah,
yeah.
They also did not. They were not going to say that they were never going to use it.
Yeah.
So
the thing I kind of thought about, I was like, does this just mean that they have their own version that's probably way worse?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think they're good enough to generate that. I think it means they're using it and they're hiding it.
Either one is not a good thing for our privacy.
The article author did a really good job too because it said that Pegasus doesn't work on United States mobile phone numbers, but there's something else that...
It's just Pegasus by a different name.
Yeah. But, in everybody asking questions of the FBI, they're very clear that, no, we're not using Pegasus on that. And it's like, well, what about the other thing? Has anybody ever asked that? Because I think the answers may be different.
I think both answers are different than what he will say.
Yeah.
I think he's a liar.
Yeah.
And the FTC has made an important announcement. And the weird thing about this announcement is they're basically saying to us, we could have done this all along, but for some unknown reason, up until this point, we've decided not to. But we're going to now.
Yeah. The FTC restores rigorous enforcement of law banning unfair methods of competition. Policy statement renews the agency's commitment to exercising its full legal authority against companies who use unfair tactics to gain an advantage instead of competing on the merits. If you've ever heard of the Sherman Antitrust Act, that's mentioned here. That plays a prominent appearance. You should check that out. I like this new FTC, although I have a feeling it's already way too late for like the competition. It's already
been all snapped up. They all buy each other out.
It's all crushed. I mean, if the FTC were so, like at a basic level, locking your phone that you bought down to only be able to run blessed applications is a blatant violation of this.
Every company buying up every other company, also not great.
It's unfair competition.
This is clearly crosshairs on the big tech companies. I have a feeling Mr. Elon Musk is going to get a lot of misery from this. Should he?
He's probably already kind of rolling in the misery right now.
I think he loves it, though, don't you?
He
likes the attention.
I like the tweet that said, "By the way, don't forget Twitter is under orders from the FTC that is a consent decree. You have to get permission from your users to do things with their data." And he's just all playing it fast and loose. Well,
some good news, I guess. I kind of feel like this money will just be squandered, but there was quite a shot in the arm for the U.S. government as they have some old business that they've finally gotten a hold of the money.
U.S. Attorney announces historic $3.36 billion in cryptocurrency seizure and conviction in connection with Silk Road. What was his name?
Damian Williams. Oh no, that's the U.S. Attorney.
Zong.
The font is so small.
James Zong.
Yeah, they $3.36 billion in Bitcoin when it was worth more than it is now, but also $661,000 in cash, an undisclosed amount in precious metals, and other stuff was seized from his house.
He also had physical Bitcoin in his house, which is interesting.
Is that like Chuck E. Cheese coupons?
I think it kind of is like the physical coins with the number on.
Didn't we convict Ross Ulbricht on this one? Why is?
Well, this guy had been fighting it, but now he's pled guilty, so I guess they can seize it now. Part of the plea agreement, I believe. He gave up a lot of stuff, including a company. His interest in RE&D investments, currency, metal items. Silver.
Oh, just metal items.
Yeah.
Screws, nails.
Bitcoin. Yeah, so just different Bitcoin things there. Quite a bit of stuff they got from him. I bet they'll do? I bet they'll put that toward the deficit.
Yes, absolutely.
Or they'll use it to buy more law enforcement things to just keep going.
And the NSA, they have decided to let us know that we're in danger, in case you didn't know that. And they're saying that you need to be better. Not they need to be better. You need to be better.
I got to look at this in more detail, but the NSA releases guidance on how to protect against software memory safety issues. Now, this isn't some like double reverse backdoor reverse psychology thing. The NSA has noticed that there's a lot of programmers that have no idea what they're doing when it comes to memory safety. And this document, I haven't taken a deep look at it, but it really looks like Babby's first memory safety course, which is probably a good idea for everybody to read. There's not some weird Trojan horse in here. It's a literal, the code that everyone is writing is terrible. We should maybe do something about that.
They did recommend specific languages that do better at that. So if you're still using C++, they say go to C# because you're a terrorist if you don't.
Or Rust. Gosh, can you imagine the future case where that's probable cause? It's like, well, the judge signed off on this warrant because you're a C programmer, a filthy C programmer.
Do you have any other evidence? No, just that.
And out in California, they have some of the best rules in the country, I would say, in terms of like feeding back into the grid and renewable. Obviously, that's what their leaders are constantly pounding the drum about. But the utility industry in California not quite as big of fans of that as the leaders, it seems.
California regulators propose cutting compensation for rooftop solar. Right now, your utility will pay you a fair market rate if they use your electricity, your extra electricity. This would cut it by 75%.
They really want to make sure people are not getting away from that grid.
Now, they do have to give up that this is only for new construction. If you already have solar panels in the system, they will continue to pay for, what was it, like 20 years or something like that?
Up to 20 years, yeah.
From the time that you got it. The excuse for this, like what possible reason could you say that this makes any sense? Like how would this not be just completely anti-consumer? Well, obviously, this is good for poor people and people in marginalized communities because the poors are too dumb and poor to put solar panels on their home. And thus they must carry a larger burden than these dirty landowners who are trying to save the planet.
But in California, the land is the most expensive thing. The cost of the solar system is negligible. Like if you're a poor person and you have a tiny shoebox-sized piece of land in California, that's worth more than the solar panels.
Well, but most of those people probably don't own land, right?
So the landlord should be responsible.
They didn't say it that way. And we have more and more crackdown on the copyright front. And where things like this used to get a big uproar, I feel like the frog is pretty much boiled at this point, right? 'Cause nobody seems to care.
I didn't
that
even
much.
hear about this until we looked at the links.
Yeah.
The Z Library ebook site has been seized by the U.S. Department of Justice.
And this is how you know they're serious, because if you look at the page design, it's not like the crappy, PageMaker Dreamweaver page. They actually like put an actual background and stuff in it. This website, they put a gradient. Yeah.
It looks like a Stargate or something going on back there. What is
Usually
that?
it's like, lime green text on a yellow background, and this time they actually bothered to design it.
That's a guy wearing some kind of protective suit or something?
to keep you away from the books, citizen.
So, oddly enough, they shifted the names server over to the cserver.com, but then it got shifted again. Maybe they just don't know what they're doing. Anyway, no more Z Library. So you can go to Tor and still get to it, but I imagine it's being monitored.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Z Library does have a donation system, which is basically a subscription system. So they work kind of selling other people's work, I guess, in some fashion. And we are seeing a lot of fallout from our rules about exporting things to China. China is really having a rough time with it, actually. As much as they try to play off that they're not, we're seeing a lot of stories about how they're struggling. But when it comes to quantum computing, it appears that nobody in the government has any clue exactly how to go about stopping anyone from using quantum computers because they don't understand them in any way.
Biden's push for new quantum control has one big problem. Nobody knows where to draw the line.
To be fair, quantum computing kind of confusing.
That looks like
Very
a shot of IBM's quantum computer, which I saw in person.
And so they're saying that, we can't give the Chinese quantum capabilities. And so you say, well, what do we keep them from getting to stop that? It's not like we sell them pre-built quantum computers. And so now we have to try to figure out how to do that.
Someone just thought, we should have rules here, and no one actually thought what they should be.
Someone needs to do something about this. Not me. Never
Somebody.
me, but somebody. And this, of course, obviously is in the same vein as the FTC announcement. Now that we know that the election is over and the big switch, the red wave did not crash, we can safely go after the tech companies.
Oh,
no.
look what you've done.
Oh my God.
It's still there.
Biden team to push ambitious antitrust crackdown on big tech companies. Can you run an arbitrary program on your Apple phone? No?
Still, they're not as far along as the EU. EU was on this tip a long time ago.
Ages, yeah. Do you still have to buy random chargers for certain devices?
Thanks, Apple.
This one just happened today, and I didn't read the entire thing in depth because it was very late right before we started. But This is it's interesting because I think a lot of people don't realize that the U.S.'s official policy toward Taiwan is that Taiwan is a part of China. Like, we don't act that way.
It's like Hong Kong, though. It was one China, two governments.
What happened to Hong Kong?
Yeah,
Nothing good.
Didn't go well.
And I realize how stupid our leaders are. You think they're that stupid?
This is
No, they're liars.
Biden tells she.
It's more like just he and she. It's basically
Yeah,
it
because
just says
when you
she.
say thank you, it's like Shay Shay, right?
Okay. Biden tells Xi one China policy toward Taiwan has not changed. But there was also, I mean, that's the headline, but there was a lot of stuff in there that says we don't want any changes to the status quo. And we also don't want unilateral action. Like China can't just decide to move in. We would be opposed to that.
Yep. The other thing that Biden mentioned during this meeting, he's like, I don't think they're going to invade anytime soon, which is a bit of a change because there were some reports earlier this year from some generals who thought that China was making those moves.
And the Chinese leaders, I think one of them came out and actually said the words "prepare for war."
Yeah.
So, if it's not with Taiwan, who's it with? The U.S. Supreme Court, they're getting back to work. They're deciding what cases to look at, and this one should be interesting.
U.S. Supreme Court to hear a case over foreign reach of federal trademark law. This one, it looks like an interesting case to hear the company tell it. They partnered with a company in Germany to sell their products, who kept selling their products under their name after they asked them to stop.
But the question here is, can you extract money? Because money was taken out of the United States into Germany. Can we then have a ruling from our court system that somehow gets that money back, even though they are not under our court system? I mean, you kind of have to enforce that with guns and bombs, all right?
And intellectual property, as it turns out. You know, think about rights holders and music and all that kind of stuff.
I'm not sure.
And speaking of rights holders, we have a terrible precedent where when someone doesn't like you and they have enough power, like the recording industry and the movie industry, they will just get you turned off at the source. And because we have now centralized the source, that is very easy to do.
Court upholds piracy blocking order against Cloudflare's 1.1.1.1 DNS resolver. So,
Badoo.
There's a lot of people using 1.1.1.1, and it does offer a lot of nice conveniences and added features of other DNS resolvers, but it also offers anti-piracy built right in.
The chat's gonna, they heard that Teams tone and they're all like, oh.
sorry. It's like, you're live. Yep, I am.
And they point out here in Adweek, I think Adweek it's such a villainous pile of trash. They actually lauded this. But they point out 6 years ago, and we've been talking about this for quite some while, is it legal to scrape publicly available information? And is it legal to scrape information if it's not publicly available but behind a login wall that you kind of inch around in some manner?
The court has finally sided with LinkedIn in data scraping lawsuit versus HiQ Labs. Now, this has not been the case for the last 6 years, but now it is. What changed?
HiQ's quarterly earnings next time.
Yeah.
That's what changed because they are done.
Rip.
Their business model, I'm pretty sure, is dependent on that. And Miss Elizabeth Holmes, unfortunately for her, I gotta say, I was looking at this picture. It looks like her hair care has fallen off lately. You think like stress? Maybe it was humid.
Maybe
that
it was
day?
a windy day.
Could
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
A lot of humidity.
You think she'll be able to condition as well as she does now when she's in prison?
Absolutely not.
Elizabeth Holmes, prosecutors are seeking 15-year sentence and $800 million in restitution.
I think the max sentence was 20 years.
Yeah.
I wonder why they only gave her 15.
Because she's pretty.
There is some really funny stuff that has come out of that case. Funny and not exactly a ha-ha kind of way.
Funny, but nothing that absolves her from guilt.
No.
Yeah.
She was absolutely knee deep in it, if not neck deep. Or either she was part of it, or she's maybe the dumbest human to ever reach that
The universe does take care of an idiot.
Maybe not anymore. Huh?
I have a feeling that her story's not over yet. It's probably going to have a surprise twist ending. I just don't know what it is.
She's going to get out of prison and become something amazing.
1,600,000 hours of community service. Okay.
Just picking up trash by the side of the road.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a better use of her time if she has some skills.
That's maybe.
I don't know that she has.
Yeah.
All of her skills were faking things. Oh, you know what? She should become a professional wrestler.
That would be quite the career twist.
She's pretty enough. She's probably not athletic enough. They'd have to train her pretty hard. Well, we talked about this. I think we talked about this last week. It was kind of like, yeah, this is definitely coming, but now it has been opened. The probe has opened.
EU opens a deeper probe of Microsoft's Activision deal. They're real. What is it? What is it? What game were they really worried about? Call of Duty.
But Microsoft announced that as long as there's a Call of Duty, there will be a PlayStation Call of Duty. So apparently, that's not enough to satisfy the EU.
It'll change soon. They'll change the name.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
I think that's what we predicted when we talked about that, right? It'll become like, what else could it be other than a call? The hearkening of duty. This is a story that did not get, as you can see by the paywall alternative, the amount of coverage that I thought it would. Maybe in the EU, this was more covered.
Yeah, if you're in Europe, let us know if you've heard about this.
Yeah.
But it's the Spider-Man meme for every state in the EU. Basically is what we're looking at here.
The headline is The EU Watergate Pegasus Spyware Scandal Grows. So if you're in Europe, it turns out that Pegasus spyware has been used a lot on journalists and politicians and some prime ministers because we needed to know more information. You know the whole thing in Spain? The Catalan? Is that how you say that? Catalan?
It's Catalonia.
Catalonia,
the people are Catalan people.
Settlers of Catalan.
That's the board game, Krista.
Same thing.
Yeah, so they really, really wanted to know what those people were doing because that part of Spain generates a lot of tax revenue, and we can't have those people rising up. So.
But it seems like everybody was doing it. Some were hiding it better than others. Some did a really piss poor job of hiding it.
Greece to ban sale of spyware after government is accused of surveillance. Not just government, Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of Greece said, well, you know what? All right, we'll ban the software. It's like, Prime Minister, you're not saying no here. You're not saying that you didn't do this. It's like, well, we'll just ban the software. It's fine.
We'll keep all the data we got before.
And I've already gotten what I can out of it.
Yeah.
This will protect me from others retaliating with the same tactic. So... That's definitely something that big companies do all over the world. It's like, oh, you've been raping and pillaging for 5 years. No, regulate me, please. Regulate me. And in Italy, they have also had a similar situation where it's like, well, on one hand, I don't support cracking down on piracy, but these guys were being quite brazen about it.
Italian police break up the biggest TV piracy network. Apparently, according to this article, 70% of people in Italy were subscribed to it or using it, which again underscores the fact that problems with piracy is one of convenience, not.
And it was pay-per-use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, you got pretty much all of the content for what you might pay for one streaming service,
which is how it used to be with like Netflix, but now we're in this weird hellscape. Yeah.
We can't have that world.
So, and I posted a thread on the forum with these tabs so you can follow along.
If you want to send them to your friends.
And share, yeah.
And insurance, to be specific, cybercrime insurance, ransomware insurance, things that, pay out when you get hacked, that's a bit of an issue because a lot of these insurance companies, when they saw a new vector, they were like, oh, we'll sell you all the policies you want for that. Not anticipating just how much ransomware there was going to be. So now they're changing the rules and pray that they don't alter them further.
Swiss Re wants government bailout as cybercrime insurance costs spike. So yeah, if you got cybercrime insurance against ransomware and you had to pay somebody to deal with that, guess what?
You don't actually have cybercrime insurance. You've just been paying something for no reason.
And they, as we saw last week, they're cutting out. It's like flood insurance here. They're like, oh, you've got cybercrime insurance, but that was Russia. You don't have state cybercrime insurance. You didn't get that policy. So
Yeah, a lot of the American policies exclude state actor actions. So I've been witness to a couple of conversations where the insurance company was like, this looks like a state action. And it's like, on what are you basing that? We're not going to pay. Take us to court if you want. It's like, okay, thanks, insurance company.
Insurance is such a scam.
It really is.
now this is an interesting one because the UK government has decided to launch this new program. Somebody should have told them that China has already done this for them. They just need to get the data from China.
The British government is scanning all internet devices in the UK. I read the details of this. I don't actually have a problem with this. I think this is probably a good thing.
You can also opt out. You can put a file on your server that will prevent them from doing their scan. And
Well,
actually,
they scan for the file.
I don't actually think that they will.
Yeah, probably
Respect
not.
that. Yeah.
In before hacked WordPress instances put the file in the root of the server, and it's like, please don't scan my hacked WordPress instance. Thank you.
Unfortunately, if they were to scan your stuff and find something other than something they could be helpful with, like if they found something criminal, they would never admit it through this program, but they would easily shuffle that off to somebody else. So just keep in mind that that Sauron is now scanning your ports in addition to
He's
keeping the
seeking out the
eye.
One Ring.
And Apple has done an interesting thing to AirDrop, and I can't imagine why they did it. Why did I put this in the government section?
Apple curbs AirDrop file sharing on devices in China. So this is, you can share files, and it'll share files with people in range. So you can bring up your iPhone.
Yeah, it's totally random.
And you can say, I have a file, I would like to share it with this other thing, and you can share with everyone. And you can set in your settings if you want to receive stuff from everyone. Well, in China, you can only receive stuff from everyone for 10 minutes. So this is a really dark change.
Well, what happened was some people were sharing protest images against.
Yeah.
Not according to them, Krista. What they're saying is this is safety on public transport from news.
You know that scene in, I think it's one about the girl Sophie, and she throws all the flyers down the stairwell. It's like that.
What's it? What
I can't remember the name of the movie.
You with the movie reference, and you can't even tell us
I
what
can't
it
even
is?
remember the. Well, that's
This is
on brand.
unprecedented.
Isn't that on brand though for me to not remember the movie? She throws all the things, and it's like a big dramatic moment, and then she gets arrested by the Nazis. What movie is that?
I don't know.
I can't remember the name of it.
I didn't realize we were talking about World War II then.
Yeah.
Well, Japan, they had a bad time in World War II, but that's not related to this. Japan is learning what we are also learning, what everybody except for Taiwan and some of the other Southeast Asian countries is learning, is that you need technology in your borders. Very important.
Japan to invest $500 million to manufacture advanced chips. Woo!
Good for them.
We are
Possibly
too.
good for us. Yeah, like if we can trade with them.
We've got a story about TSMC in Arizona later.
Now, this is when, like, if you go back and look at the evolution of Internet of Things, this was always the end game.
Yeah, we
Always.
every time, like in California and with the what was it, the Nest? Google rolled out an update for the Nest thing for the grid problems in California, and we said this is the end game.
But it seems like if this were to be something that came into being, which it probably will, it's not like you can just be like, oh, I don't want a Nest, I'll get a regular kind. No, you will not. New construction will probably be compelled to use this kind of thing.
Government seeks power to turn down private home air conditioners remotely, says report. Well, yeah.
Seeks power, probably already has the power.
And they had some comments from the Japanese people. They weren't
Creepy.
fans of it.
Creepy. Are they crazy? I'm glad the AC unit I bought isn't internet connected, just like our TVs that we advocate for here on Level 1.
When we bought appliances, we bought nothing connected to the internet.
But when it's no longer legal, or when you have to get it retrofitted at your own cost, that's the kind of thing they'll do there. It'll be horrific
That's a problem for me, like 20 years in the future,
if you're lucky.
if I'm lucky.
And India has decided to, they are the highest growth population, and they're getting, like, all these Apple and all these companies are going to them. They're about to be where China was, like 20 years ago, where they're being dragged into first world. And so all these new industries are just popping up.
India gambles on building a leading drone industry. I like this. I've seen a couple of stories like this out of India, and this is a good move. So this is basically the Indian government investing in this sort of thing, which is exactly what China did with companies like Huawei, which may or may not now be a problem for the US. So India is saying, wait, we've got lots of smart people and a relatively cheap labor force. We don't have to do manufacturing. We can do better stuff like drones and motors and stuff, which, that'll combine old world tech with new world tech. Why aren't we doing this? So this is
now they're doing it.
Yeah, this is good for the world.
This isn't just building drones. This is using them effectively for like ranching and mapping and stuff like that. So they're actually building jobs and services that will consume the drones that they're building, which is a smart way of doing it.
Yeah.
A service industry that's dependent on a manufacturing industry that you control.
Yeah. And
imagine if we did that.
Planting trees and ecological stuff too. I mean, you could accomplish a lot with those. Pesticides, as we saw a week before last.
I would love it if all of the call centers could get jobs with drones.
There's a tap at your window and it's like, pardon me,
Please.
sir. May I speak
right.
to you
Your
about
car's extended
They would do
warranty.
remote drones over here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Oh, man.
Thanks to the low ping times of Elon Musk's satellite internet.
How quick would they get shot out of the sky here, though? Let's be real.
Depends on where you are. California would take a long time. Eastern Kentucky, almost immediately.
Yeah.
Chicago, they would be shot and stripped like
Instantly.
as soon as they took off.
Yeah.
Now, Australia, they have had some really embarrassing things happen to them recently. They had a big breach that was really embarrassing, followed by another breach that was embarrassing. And they kind of had to admit that they are not in control of any of it, but they're going to change that.
Hunt down the scumbags. Australian government to hack the hackers behind the media bank breach. Goodness. They could just have good security. That would be an option.
No, it's better to have mutually assured destruction with the hackers.
Australia is really on the struggle bus with their security. Not putting a lot of time into it.
Maybe this will be the catalyst that propels them forward, makes them do better.
Maybe this will be the catalyst that drives them to unplug from the internet.
Well, in fact, a lot of people in Russia are unplugging from the internet, but not because they want to, but maybe because they're terrified of it. Or they can't get to any of the cool stuff on the internet anymore because it's all been blocked. So what do? Well, if you say VPN, you're wrong because they are losing choices rapidly.
Kaspersky to kill its VPN service in Russia next week. What is this? Back to March already?
November 10th, so we are there already. It's almost next week for them. RIP VPN users. And this came out, which was, we look at Iran as a sort of a dystopian government, but then you're kind of like, what about the EU Pegasus situation?
Maybe they're all a little dystopian.
Yeah, they're a little bit more out front with it here, but it was very similar.
Hacked documents how Iran can track and control protesters' phones. Well, it turns out, what do they have in common? Pegasus-like spyware.
But Iran's version is, I thought they had screenshots in here, but it is like really nice and has a nice GUI, and it's easy for anybody to use. So
some UX designer had to work on that and make sure that experience was great.
There are enough people using it that they had to do that.
Yeah.
To be fair, Krista, like those people probably didn't have to worry about, like hating themselves for doing that because they were probably Israeli engineers.
And that is the end of the government section. We will prep the next section while I thank everybody that subbed.
Oh, I've been trying to peek at the chat periodically.
Let's see. Where'd my document go?
Also, YouTube's moderation is awful. So every now and then things will get flagged in here, and it'll be like someone just responding like, "Hey, love your show," and it's like, "Do you want to show this chat?" And it's like, "Well, yeah. What's wrong with it?"
You mispronounced Medibank. Oh, I'm sorry. It's flagged.
Do you leave mod mode on the Twitch chat?
Yeah, every now and then I'll see it.
It catches a lot of those too. And
Yeah.
for the most part, they're benign.
There was something we were talking about the other day that it was flagging a bunch of comments. I don't remember what it was.
All right, let's thank Gabriel Rodriguez. Live streams are honestly the best. Thank you.
Isn't that weird though? But you have that every time someone says honestly, you're like, oh, they're about to lie.
Yeah.
So is he saying that live streams are
The
terrible?
live streams are the worst.
Jadzia Dax says, I like anime. I find that hard to believe. Pro CD says, just gave us a bunch of money.
Thank you.
Eamon Bode says, I'll pay $100 to hear me read the Turbo Encabulator script. Maybe we can talk about panometric frames later. Colostomy Bag, $4.99. I will, or thanks for the live stream, Ryan the Bass, Wendell the Knower, and Chris the Art Master. Just dropping it on you. Listen, I just ramble. I don't have any idea what I'm talking about.
But listen, if Colostomy Bag said it.
I believe it.
PH Gamer, I wasn't expecting a live show. Good morning. Yeah, we weren't really either. I got
It was
back
a little bit
super
last
late,
minute, yeah.
and so it was like, well, we could do another week without me, and it's like, we'll just do it live.
You're not going to be here Friday, right?
Probably not.
Yeah, so we've got, Wendell's on like a travel world tour right now.
We could. That's going to be interesting. It's always weird with the live stream too, because now we only have 4 days.
Yeah.
Of news.
Another
Not
live
news,
stream.
Krista, links.
Oh, well, it's too late now.
Or something. Let's see. Oh, you got the link for me to post?
Maybe
on
we'll
the
get
thread?
some.
No, actually.
Oh yeah, we gotta organize that.
It's gone now. If I re-tab it, maybe this could go terribly.
Maybe we'll get some really quality doom scroll in the time between now and Friday.
Adam Marquez says, I tweeted you to learn how to code. Replied on the new and said level 1. I'm being serious. Thanks. Learning to code. I don't know. That's an interesting question.
What are you wanting to do?
This is somebody, if I remember correctly, that doesn't have any experience. Like, how do you get started learning to code? Like, what? I'm tempted to send them toward something like Python, but I don't know. Got any ideas? Like, where would you start?
There's 10 billion YouTube videos.
Well, I feel like it's helpful if you have like a project in mind for something you're wanting to do. Like for me, I wanted to make a website when I was a kid. And then I was like, oh, I want my website to look pretty. And then I started reading tutorials.
Yeah, working backwards from like the career, like what do you envision yourself being able to do 8 hours a day?
Or just, do you have a project in mind? Like, what are you trying to accomplish?
Or it might be easier to like mod a game.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's kind of another one that I would think would be a good one where it's project-based, where it's like, I want a mod, or I want to make my own game, and then you can work
sort of
from
like take small bites. Programming can be very overwhelming when you first get into it, and you're like, okay, I want to make an app. And then it's like, okay, well, here's a visual builder. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
No, I just want an app.
Victor Villa says, good evening from the Middle East. I miss the cold weather and the blue skies.
Hello.
I love your rambling. You are my soul.
Wait.
Pro VCD.
They don't got blue skies in the Middle East?
It's a different color over there. It's wild.
You know, when I was in California, there was something weird up with the skies because of the fire or something, and it was like the Mexico filter. You know,
The haze. We had a little bit of that here because we had some wildfires. Not thankfully as bad, but
that is smoke and fog.
not good for the breathing. My throat's still a little scratchy.
So
Pro CD said, I love your rambling. And so, yes. All right. If you do a super chat, we'll read it at the end. On with the next section, which is business news. There's so much business news this
I
week.
keep forgetting I got to do the hands on the side of the news stories when we.
only if they're really extreme. Now, this one we saw hints of this last week for sure. I think a lot of people knew this was coming, although the number might be a little more extreme than they thought.
Amazon reportedly plans to lay off about 10,000 employees starting this week. My first question was, is that the warehouse people or the other people? No, this is the executives and the programmers and the tech people. They're not even counting the warehouse people. This is totally from the corporate side. This is 3%.
They already did the warehouse cut. This is the new cut.
This is just the white collar workers.
It's a lot of people. A lot of people with job skills that might not immediately be needed elsewhere. Maybe they'll have to go do some time down in the warehouse.
The pits.
The worst fate for an Amazon executive.
They were the person who was in charge of efficiency. So they were the ones who, cut breaks, won't let them go to the bathroom, and then now they have to go down there and work in that.
Now, we know Amazon is cutting people because for the first time ever, they're having bad financial numbers. Or first time in a long time, since they started their meteoric rise. But one company that actually sort of like managed to crawl through the earnings minefield without catching one still sees the writing on the wall, and they're like, yeah, actually, we're just going to do what everybody else is doing.
Apple freezes hiring for more job roles to cut costs. So obviously their earnings are down, right? Nope. We've got a story about that.
And we already did the story about that.
191 million.
That was previous weeks. So yeah, they got through it, and everybody was like, oh, they actually did pretty well. But they were like, yeah, we're still getting rid of everybody.
Thanks, Apple. That's so frustrating too, because a lot of the Apple stuff is just so poorly engineered. You know, see also like Louis Rossman's video. It's like the charging circuit and just basic stuff they cannot get right.
Yeah, it's a cult of marketing, and it turns out the one thing that can open people's eyes from the cult of marketing is hunger and pennilessness. These I just threw in more general collapse stories.
Web3 gaming studio Mythical Games lays off 10% of its employees.
There's a lot of stories like this. Buckle in.
There's a lot of crypto collapse stories this week. A lot.
Yeah, but most of them are based on one big thing. But we do have a couple more collapse stories before we get to the big one.
Salesforce cut hundreds of employees on Monday. You know, Salesforce.com, 1,000 employees. What?
How does Salesforce.com have 1,000 employees?
You know, that's a question I often ask myself with some of these companies. I guess there's probably a lot of infrastructure you have to maintain, but I wouldn't think you would need that big of a team. But
this one also a little bit older story. We knew this was coming.
Facebook parent Meta sheds 11,000 jobs in latest sign of tech slowdown. I watched the, did you guys cover the Elon Musk video? I watched the video where he said, this was my responsibility. We covered
You're talking
that?
about Zuckerberg.
Or Zuckerberg, yeah.
Zuckerberg.
But he said it was his responsibility because of the advertising downturn. He did not admit that the metaverse was the problem. Which the metaverse is the problem. It is absolutely garbage. Nobody cares about it. And he won't stop.
Yeah. Musk is on my mind because he's laying off more people from Twitter today.
And
He wants to be on your mind, living in your head rent free.
Yeah, living my, yeah.
So
exactly.
I sorted these incorrectly. This was actually supposed to come before, but this actually pointed out who was targeted mostly. And it wasn't all these guys, but they were at the top of the list of who got cut from Amazon.
Amazon eyes devices group as it undertakes broad cost cutting.
Alexa, fire the bottom 10%.
There reaches a point where like everyone who wants one of those things is going to get one, right? Like an Alexa, like a device.
I mean, you got new audiences, aging into it over and over. But I think if your budget is tight right now, why would you?
Yeah, you're not going to buy an Alexa or a Ring or.
Do you think that we'll see a new renaissance in entrepreneurialism? Because, obviously the engineering and stuff that goes into these smart speakers is about the product, not making a good smart speaker. But the utility of having a good sound system in your house is nice. People spend money to put the speakers in the wall. And so when I say that there might be a renaissance in entrepreneurialism is make that kind of stuff modular. If you want to run Alexa on your Raspberry Pi powered home speaker, okay, put the Alexa module in it. But you don't have to deal with the insanity of Alexa if you just want a speaker that will give you music through your house and sound good.
But nobody just wants Alexa. They want the convenience of all that other stuff without having to actually set it up themselves. They will accept Alexa as part of that package, but not. By herself, no one hangs out with Alexa.
Yeah, and so that's why I say maybe there'll be a renaissance of entrepreneurialism for people that are putting that kind of stuff together.
Are you saying Alexa's like the rich friend that people don't really like, but
they need her.
She has a car,
They can get into any club they want when she's with them, but they hate her. And also, she's constantly just farting in the car.
I mean,
that's very gassy.
That basically describe. I mean, you could like all Apple technology is that way, and pretty much all cloud services are that way. It's like I want the convenience of this, but every time I upload something, I can hear Google rifling through my stuff to try to figure it out, add more data.
Giving
points.
you a virtual pat down every time.
Yeah, and it's like, do we really have to go through this every time? And it's like, oh, this is a forbidden file. And it's like, Google, this is 0 bytes. You're on the naughty list. We're going to close your account because this file's 0 bytes. Can I appeal this? No, we're sure this file's really. Those are things that have actually happened.
And the whole, like work wherever you want, digital nomad magic of the last 2 years, that also seems to have all been conditional on the economy not collapsing.
WeWork will close about 40 locations as losses narrow. So in San Francisco, the last time I was in San Francisco a couple of years ago, it was just a festival of broken glass and homelessness. This last time, it was very clean and there was not a lot of aggressive panhandling, almost none. But the number of shops that were closed or had their glass, boarded over with plywood was probably about 60%. And that seems like a lot for a city like San Francisco.
Now, here's the big block. We won't spend a ton of time on each of these stories because there are so many. But I think I've put together a pretty decent timeline here of how things played out. So what happened first, which we don't necessarily have a story for, is somebody figured out that something was rotten in the state of FTX. And that got over to one of their biggest competitors, Binance, who actually held a lot of the FTT token, which is the token that FTX uses. I realize this is all crypto nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But you have to.
There's a lot of initialisms here that I'm getting a little lost in.
Somebody was going to pay us $100 for the turbo encabulator set. This is not a lot far off from prefamulated fams.
So FTT is the coin, like Bitcoin. FTX is the company.
Right.
Binance is a competitor who held a lot of FTT. Now, Binance, they got wind that FTT might be a little bit suspicious, a little sus, as they say, as the young people say.
As the children say.
And in a really weird move that you never do. And like, if you're going to sell something, you don't tell people you're going to do it because the market will react before you can get your highest price. He announced that they would be liquidating all of their FTT. And all of the FTX investors saw that, and they were basically a herd of gazelle getting wind of a lion.
Investors withdraw millions from FTX as Binance begins liquidating the FTT token.
So now we have FTX being routed because everybody's lost trust in him. And they're just like, what are you guys doing? Of course, all of this stuff, there is no big deal. But it was a big deal. And Binance, looking a bit predatory, they were like, well, if you're in trouble, we could always just buy you.
Crypto giant Binance agrees to buy rival FTX amid liquidity crunch.
So that was the 8th.
What happened to the Argentinian plane?
There's a whole string of stories like this every day.
So they came in and they were like, hey, we'll buy you. But much like when Mr. Musk bought Twitter, that gives you some visibility to the internals of because you need to do your due diligence. So they began to do their due diligence, and very quickly,
Binance walks away from deal to acquire FTX. It was really sort of horrifying on the inside. Oh, I'm paraphrasing the subheadline.
FTX issues are beyond our control or ability to help. It seems like they kind of controlled that crash, though.
Oh, it was coming either way. So Binance says, no, we've seen the internals. We will not touch this, and we will accelerate our sell-off because we want nothing to do with this at all. And this had a terrible knock-on effect the entire crypto space.
Bitcoin falls to its lowest level in nearly 2 years as Binance abandons FTX deal. So it turns out, correct me if I'm wrong here, but part of the way that FTX was making money is they were leveraging Bitcoin that people had uploaded to do other things.
Not Bitcoin, no. That was on the 9th. So on the 10th, Sam Bankman-Fried, it's Fried, not Fried, right?
I assume Fried, yeah.
He came to talk about some of this stuff. And so what you're talking about is Alameda Research.
Oh, okay. That's how that fits.
Alameda Research was the trading arm.
Okay.
And FTX was the crypto lending holder arm.
Exchanger platform, whatever.
But the big critique that Binance found when they went in there is that both of them held FTT as collateral, which means that it would be a spiral once it started to fall, which it very much was at this point.
Sam Bankman-Fried says FTX in talks to raise capital, Alameda Research to wind down trading.
It's going to be okay. I'm personally going to lose a lot of money because my trading company is going to go to die. But everybody's fine. You're going to get your money back, right? But then some more bad news.
The FTX assets frozen by by a Bahamas regulator. But then that wasn't true.
Bahamian.
No, that's true. Why was that not true?
No, that wasn't they came out and said that they didn't say that.
The Bahamians?
Yeah.
The
Well,
Bahamians.
it doesn't matter because
That doesn't sound like a real word.
the U.S. regulators are after them now.
Yeah.
They were absolutely guilty. I'm sure the Bahamians will change their mind again after they find out what actually happened. And this, of course, continued to have contagion.
Crypto lender BlockFi pauses withdrawals in wake of FTX collapse. No.
Not directly involved, but everybody was getting slaughtered here. And eventually it started to come out just how bad things were. There was nothing left to do.
Sam Bankman-Fried steps down as FTX CEO as his crypto exchange files for bankruptcy. Now, I looked at the bankruptcy report for that. It listed over 100,000 creditors, which I presume are the people that use that.
And CZ, who is the dude who runs Binance, after getting a look at it, actually told the world.
CZ's Slams reports Binance's reserves are full of its own tokens. The numbers are all wrong.
So Sam SBF, God, these people are so annoying. He retaliated and said that that Binance was in the same situation of having their own tokens. And Binance refuted it, but kind of admitted that they also do collateralize their own tokens, which is not great. He claims it's only because of his users hold mostly of those tokens and not because he wants them there. And then, as if things could not get any worse, or was this a clever exfiltration of funds that they knew were about to be vaporized?
This, I think, is the thing that preceded the Bahamians saying, "No, we didn't do this." But if this happened during the freeze, then that was convenient.
But it didn't matter whether this happened or not. It was already doomed, and they had already done a ton of illegal stuff.
FTX has been hacked. Oh no! Crypto disaster worsens as exchange sees mysterious outflows exceeding $600 million. Listen, I just about had a heart attack watching The Wolf of Wall Street. I can't imagine if you're doing the crypto stuff on a daily basis. Like I would have already collapsed into a heap at this point.
Is that ever going to recover? This is so much drama for a week.
FTX is done.
Yeah.
They are gone. Now, what this has pointed out is that a lot of these crypto lenders, their collateral is not public information. So what is actually backing up your coins that you have with them, they didn't tell you before. Now they have to. And it's really interesting that it seems like everybody is playing crazy speculation games.
Crypto.com's preliminary glimpse of token reserves reveals a 20% stake in Shiba Inu coin.
Kill me. These headlines are getting more and more absurd.
That's Doge if you're playing.
No, that's different.
It's a different one, yeah.
That's
it's not
in addition to Doge. I think they had some Doge too.
I mean, this is probably the most nonsense-filled episode of business.
We're not even in nonsense, but it feels like
that
nonsense.
we've ever done, and we've got a big thank you for Eamon Bode because he was like, "This is close enough to the Turbo and Cabulator script."
And then now we've settled on the November the 13th, 21 hours ago, and it's starting to finally settle down now into just a smoldering heap of ash.
Reuters reports at least $1 billion of client funds is missing at failed crypto firm FTX.
Just kill me.
It's missing in the sense that if you valued your Bitcoin at 60,000 and you're looking at the price of Bitcoin now at 16,000 and you're wondering where the difference went, it's missing.
The wildest thing about this, and that there's going to be a lot of mining because this SBF guy was very prolific on doing like podcasts and speaking and stuff like that. He thought he was
hyping it up.
He thought he was a really smart guy. Not only hyping it up, but bailing out other cryptos. If there was a troubled crypto, he would swoop in. He was like, "I have all the money in the world." He was stealing it. And he also almost surely changed that election. The number 2 Democratic donor in the world, just behind George Soros.
George Soros, yeah, I forgot about that. I was like, I need to make a note to mention that. I'm glad you mentioned that because, oh my gosh.
So if you're an FTT holder who just lost everything, don't worry. The Democrats got that money.
Reality isn't real. Like, nothing means anything.
And now we'll move to hardware. Although it seems a step down. We probably should have saved that madness for the end, huh? But Intel, They're still trying. They keep putting out these press releases. I don't believe them.
Intel had a big chip server announcement, and the headline from the register is Intel takes on AMD and NVIDIA with their Mad Max chips for high-performance computing. This was a press release. There was not a lot of substantial
Usually
info.
they are, but
And they were not the only ones who were rolling out new chips.
AMD EPYC Genoa gaps Intel in stunning fashion. This is at Serve the Home. So this is where I was last week. I was at the launch event for this. And oh boy, these chips are quite a bit faster than the Xeon 8380. It's going to be interesting to see Sapphire Rapids when it finally launches. You know, Sapphire Rapids was supposed to be out already, and it's been delayed a few times, and now it looks like it's pushed back to January 10th. So,
But that makes sense. I mean, why sell it into an economy that's
the
on
way it
fire?
is, yeah.
meanwhile, I'm sure that AMD is going to sell every single one of these chips that they can possibly make, which is probably what's fueling our next story.
Yeah, because we can't make enough of them. And I think another thing that's fueling the story is that TSMC is kind of like after that Biden-Xi meeting, they're probably thinking like, well, this is just more insurance, right? They're more likely not to let us be destroyed if they have to depend on us in these terms as well.
Yeah.
Although we might just nationalize these. That would be a dick move.
TSMC reportedly looks to raise a second Arizona chip fab.
Again, Arizona, kind of a weird location, but okay.
Now, the Register points out with that subheadline, remember when Taiwan's leader called all of this, the CHIPS Act, an expensive exercise in futility, as if to say, you will never be as good as Taiwan at making chips. And yet, just a little rockets, a couple of rockets going over the South China Sea, and all of a sudden,
They're all freaked out.
The knowledge. We must have the knowledge.
I have a friend who's near the one that's being built in Ohio, and she said no one can get concrete right now.
yeah.
Like, she said all the concrete's going to that. Good luck if you're in Arizona, because it's probably way worse.
I bet that's one of those projects where they just bring all the construction workers in temporarily, right? Like that's not actually local people
Yeah,
necessarily.
I don't know. She just mentioned that like she had friends who were just trying to get like basic stuff done around their homes and couldn't find anybody to do it.
Now, I'm pretty sure, let's see, this was the 9th. Yeah, I think we talked about this last week, right? But now it is officially here, is the difference maybe.
Microsoft's Direct Storage 1.1 arrives to boost PC game load times with GPU decompression. It's still not like here.
There are no games.
Yeah.
You can get the actual software, but there are no games that will take advantage of it. So.
Under the hood, I think this still also requires Windows 22 H2, which has been paused for rollout because of other concerns that it negatively impacts game performance.
There's also that statistic. What was the percentage that it adopted 11? It was tiny.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it.
Nobody wants it. Just like nobody wants VR and the metaverse.
Oh, but maybe if we make our own version, they'll use that one.
Isn't that what everybody's doing, though? I mean, the metaverse is more splintered than anything we've ever had before.
Apple's AR VR headset will reportedly include a 3D video service and its own metaverse. Okay.
Will it have blackjack and hookers? So, yeah, we don't know much about it. It's probably going to be terrible.
It just works.
All we know is it's going to be $2,000 to $3,000 for that headset.
Ooh.
What was the latest Oculus one?
They're all so pricey. I don't know how people are affording them.
I think it's like what,
probably just not.
12 to 1,500, something like that.
You see, all the models for these companies assume that these headsets will become as ubiquitous as the cell phone. Because think about when Apple, launched the iPhone and it was insanely expensive and everybody mocked them. It's like nobody can afford that, and yet
People are doing. I mean, maybe they're right. But I just can't imagine a scenario where I want to wear that headset all day.
But we had the BlackBerry at that point. People had already learned how convenient the phone device was before the iPhone. We don't have that for VR, right?
Well, the iPhone was subsidized and only like $200, and Apple was just straight up like, no, this is $700 subsidized. We don't, and they're betting. What I'm saying is they're betting that VR is gonna be like that, and I don't think that it will be.
No. Not in my world. And IBM is, they're plugging along. It's interesting that we look at quantum computing and it's not a lot of development in it over time, but they are very slowly hitting these milestones up toward what they think will be an actual functional quantum computer.
IBM unveils its 433-qubit Osprey quantum computer.
That's a crazy form factor for it.
And having seen IBM's operation in person for these, they have customers and are doing interesting things right now. So, quantum doesn't replace traditional computing, but good Lord.
And their timeline is was it 2026, 2025? They want 4,000 qubit. Oh, 2024. No, 2025 is 4,000. 2024 is 1,386. Oh, 386. So that will be impressive if they do that, though, in that short amount of time. Especially with the world
The way it is.
around us.
Gestures broadly.
And here's an interesting one. We don't usually have good things to say about Microsoft hardware, but here it is.
Surface Pro 9 teardown reveals modular parts in Microsoft's 2023 repair plans. Microsoft says it will offer parts manuals and retail repair in early 2023. This is good because I think it was the Surface Pro 4 or 5, one of the ribbon cables was engineered to tear when you replace the battery. That's the only explanation that I can come up with for the way that they did it. There is no engineering reason that they did it that way.
So you got a screwed in battery, not a glued battery. The parts that are glued are more lightly glued and not like glue that will rip them in half when you try to remove them.
Set them on fire.
And the glass will now flex a little bit rather than just shattering as soon as you try to take it apart. That's their answer to right to repair. And people love it because
I mean, it's better than nothing.
It's so conditioned.
Honestly, glass that doesn't shatter easily should just be a standard feature regardless, because it's so annoying when your screen just...
They feel differently. They
Yeah,
like
because
it.
they want you to buy a new one.
They like it when the glass just shatters and flies into your eyes. Actually, no, that would make you less of a customer.
That might not be terrible. If you had a really good AR headset that you could buy that was good for like 3 or 4 computers, and that was your display device, and it was very fast and high resolution and high refresh rate. We're not there yet.
But nobody's selling that.
No.
I don't think anybody's working on that. And Apple and Amazon in a little bit of trouble. And after reading the details, it does seem like this was just blatant price fixing. Do you think our newly fanged FTC will take a look at
Oh,
this?
she's slobbering all over it.
Antitrust lawsuit says Apple and Amazon colluded to raise prices on the iPhone and the iPad. There's some really interesting stuff in this, but yeah, the FTC should be on top of this.
The big thing here that's like, well, how do you explain this one? Amazon agreed for some reason to limit the number of third-party resellers for iPads and iPhones to 20, down from 1,600.
That's
Ooh.
definitely
When you put it in the number value, it
Yeah.
kind of
So like, and why 20? Like, who chose that number? Now, Apple will tell you it's like, oh, we're protecting against counterfeits and resale and bad batteries and blah, blah,
resale.
blah.
Resale's not illegal.
No, but they're saying that they'll resell it to you as new
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. Of course, that's all probably a lie.
Yeah, remember all the scandal about spare parts. People that just wanted to buy official Apple spare parts from machines that had been recycled. So you had people that would take, broken devices, break them down into components, and then sell them as used. It's like, this is a perfectly serviceable touchscreen control. But Apple would come in and say, no, those are counterfeit parts. And we're very successful about shutting them down. If the FTC digs into this, they will find more of that kind of thing, which is blatantly illegal.
But if they don't dig and just take what these people have already found, it's blatantly illegal. Now here, I got to wonder, do you think this is a situation based on the timing where Elon Musk is now distracted with his new toy?
and they're like, let's get this feature in now.
They're like, let's do all the things that he's been fighting us on while he's distracted.
Yeah, Tesla opens its EV charge connector with the hope of making it the new standard. Why? Because government money has opened up. If you have a charging station and...
That's right, yeah.
yeah, more than if you're...
This isn't altruism.
The Tesla superchargers would need 0 hardware upgrades if just one other manufacturer decides to use this. Now, this is also the same connector that Elon has threatened to make public since 2012, 2014?
Like almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago, but they never have. And,
Well, I don't think a lot of the other EV companies were looking for it before. They might be now. I think everybody thought they were going to be the revolutionary EV.
But Tesla will be eligible for government money just if anybody adopts this connector immediately. And that's what it's all about. In fact, if they had been a little bit more on the ball, maybe not distracted with the Twitter thing, they would have done this 2 years ago, and they'd be sitting pretty for government money.
They've never not sat pretty for government money.
Yeah.
They built that empire on government money. Now, I almost put this one in the social media, but it is more hardware because it seems like, once again, Mark Zuckerberg was faced with the reality that he's bad and his ideas are bad. And he said, no, everything except my project is bad. That's what will destroy.
Facebook parent Meta winding down some non-core hardware projects. Remember the talking portal thing? Gone. Remember the old folks patrol robot? Gone.
They're also moving away from like smartwatches and stuff like that as well, which I was like, does Facebook have that? I guess they do.
Well, they were working on it, right?
Yeah.
Imagine being a smartwatch vendor and then partnering with Meta and then being so horrified at the level of data collection that you don't want a Facebook app on the smartwatch.
Facebook made that decision for them.
And Fitbit's probably one of those things that's going to take a big hit during the economic downturn, right? Because you wouldn't buy that if you didn't have extra money.
Yeah.
You can live without that very easily.
That's like, yeah, like gym memberships too are kind of things that you cut back on.
Although your insurance will often pay for that. You should look into it. So what do? Well, you indoctrinate. You get the children early. And they had previously kind of talked about something like this, and people were like, hey, I don't know how comfortable I am tracking children at all times and sharing that data with you.
Remember they did the security analysis of the devices that were available? They range from appalling to literally reporting to China.
Or they could do like a rando could just talk to your kids at any time. So they backed away because they're like, well, that's a bit of a hot topic and it has officially been long enough.
Report, Fitbit working on a cellular wearable for kids after canceling the camera smartwatch. Listen, we got a warehouse full of smartwatch parts. How are we going to make an omelet out of this? These lemons.
Look at the bright, happy colors they've made them too.
And very subtle Ukraine colors.
Oh, is that what they were going for?
I don't know, but it's quite a coincidence. Huh? They also, here's something I didn't quite understand, maybe just because kids are dumb and destructive, but there's a subscription service that gives you a new colored band every month.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
Who's that for?
As the kid who
What a waste.
would have chewed through that band.
To get it off?
Yeah.
Did you also have a thing where you didn't want to wear a watch as a kid?
Yeah.
I also did that, which drove my mom insane.
Somebody was trying to make you?
Yeah. My mom wanted me to keep track of time, and so she constantly
Oh my
bought me
God.
watches.
That explains so much, Chad.
Yeah, I had the same because of getting distracted with things and then
Yeah.
not realizing the passage of time.
Yeah. That happened to me a lot.
You said you had that? Here's a bad PR move for Starlink because that wasn't some of their early advertising based on the opposite of this.
Yeah, yeah.
And people were like, oh, I'll have that forever. I can go into the woods. Well, be careful about the time of day.
Starlink is getting daytime data caps. It's going to start throttling your home internet if you exceed more than 1 terabyte of monthly priority access. Otherwise, you get throttled.
Do you
Now,
remember-
actually, I would be okay with this if their network really is congested and you've exceeded a terabyte and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that they're going to throttle you into paying more.
Yeah.
But daytime is, as defined by Elon Musk, is pretty aggressive. 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Yeah.
That's all of your primetime viewing of any kind of media.
Well, yeah, and if you're in the off-grid type, like this time of year, it gets dark at like 5.
That would kind of make sense, though, because you'd be like in your camp on your Starlink rather than in nature, maybe? I don't know.
But if it gets dark, I'm saying at like 5 or 6, you're not going to be able to work on your homestead after that point because it's dark.
And
so then you're going to want to be on the internet, but you're not going to be able to.
But also, if you're looking to like run your tractors through Starlink, because that's part of that big rural broadband rollout, right? Like,
Yeah.
we got to run the Internet of Things tractors. It's like, well, and after you hit 1 terabyte, it's 25 cents per gigabyte, which isn't crazy, but like I would hate to sit there using the internet with that meter in my head running.
Yeah.
It'd be so annoying.
I had a friend who had really crappy internet growing up that was like that, where it was like, okay, I watched one YouTube video. I might be able to watch another one.
I downloaded Call of Duty. That's my cap for this month.
Yeah.
Actually, how much was the new Call of Duty? It was huge, right?
Yeah. I think it was like 70 gigs.
Is that all?
Or
Because a lot of them are
170.
breaching, a lot of them are more than 100.
No, maybe that was the update. The update was 70 gigs, and the base install was like 180.
I had a friend who got that game and it said it took him a long time to download it. He didn't say the size though.
Well, you can't save any download time on your console, but maybe you can save some energy by making your games worse.
Microsoft is exploring energy-saving graphics modes for Xbox and Windows games.
I bet there's going to be somebody who figures out, like, run it in the low resolution, low graphic mode, but still give me the full horsepower so I can, compete online. Get a little edge. A couple of extra frames in my favor. They haven't announced that yet. That was just a survey of, like, would you tolerate this? Would you want this?
Yeah. Engagement challenge. Go let them know, chat.
The kind of games we play, for the most part, I feel like you wouldn't notice necessarily, but
Yeah, probably not. You don't really need a lot of graphical fidelity
no.
for aspy indie games, but that's the only kind you should be playing. And this is interesting because the U.S. sanctions, like, they came really fast, and the chip production cycle is really slow. Takes a long time to get that thing moving, so it sucks when you're in the middle of a development cycle and all of a sudden Joe Biden makes an announcement that ruins your life.
Chinese chip designers slow down processors to dodge U.S. sanctions. This is an interesting article. It talks about how they're producing a chip with TSMC, and so they paid a lot for cutting-edge access to get, some test chips, and now they're just going to slow them down.
My favorite part of this article we were talking about before is that, did someone actually take a photo of a snail?
It looks pretty good. I mean, that
Yeah.
could be rendered, but either way, they spent some time.
Or was it stable diffusion? You don't know.
But, the alternative was just to throw it all away, right? What else are you going to do with those chips?
If you put a snail on them and take stock photos.
I don't think you're going to make your money back.
How funny would it be if that became an open secret where you buy the chip that's 800 megahertz, but everybody overclocks it to like 3 gigahertz?
Or, I immediately, my thought process is like, well, this is going to run slower unless you remove this brightly colored tab. Don't remove the brightly colored tab. I don't think they let them get away with that.
They did during the prohibition, right, with the wine and stuff. It was like, oh, if you let this wine sit in your cabinet, or this grape juice sit in your cabinet, it'll turn into wine. So don't do that. But
They also poison some of that stuff.
we're gonna do that here too.
It's still a risk. Well, this is interesting, and this is sort of like not much fanfare here, but this is a big loss for Google. They've been fighting this with everything they had.
Google Play to pilot third-party billing in new markets, including the U.S., and Bumble has joined Spotify as an early tester.
Basically, everything that they feared is coming true. They will not be able to take their, 13% now?
Their pound of flesh.
Washington lobbyists sever ties with Sam Bankman-Fried. Oh, breaking news from CNBC, but that's not what we're covering here. Instead, we're talking about Apple. And they've been talking about this for a while. We didn't know exactly how it was going to look, but actually it is going to be free for 2 years.
Apple will spend $450 million with Globalstar and others to enable emergency satellite texting. Why is it free? Well, probably because Apple can't count on this working every time, and some people probably will die.
And they say that you have to, get into the open, point your phone at the sky, and hope for the best, basically. Better than
That's
nothing.
kind of true of almost any satellite thing like that, though.
If that's the only chance that I have after a bear mauling, I'll take it.
It can be something as mundane as losing your way on the path or twisting your ankle, or there's plenty of ways to get hurt in the wilderness.
So many ways to die out there, Krista, and yet you go voluntarily
I
over
do.
and over.
We need to do...
Because the alternative is all the things we talked about in this news program.
we need to do a parody of the Help I've Fallen, I Can't Get Up, but that is as good as the 911 commercial from the IT crowd. The 0118999.
I don't know if I've seen that. I don't know the reference.
I've had a bit of a tumble.
But that original commercial was terrible quality in the first place. So
Yeah.
it would be really easy to...
Yeah.
We could act that out.
Yeah, it's like, help! I've fallen and I can't get up. And it's like you're using satellite, and it's just a shot of you in the middle of the desert, and you hear that what is it? The hawk sound, just the yeah, just that literally every.
It just sends a drone to kill you because it's too expensive. It's done the calculation. It's too expensive to get you out.
It's like I can't crawl to safety. I can't feel my toes.
Well, Disney Plus, they are another one of the companies that kind of slid through the earnings, right? Like it wasn't great,
They seem like they're a little nervous though.
but it wasn't as catastrophic as everybody else. And they have some more good news, although they are still going to do this horrible ad tier thing.
Disney Plus reaches 164.2 million subscribers as it prepares for ad-supported tier launch. Good Lord. They've all abandoned Netflix at this point.
I guess. I still don't really see the appeal, but
My parents are finally looking to get into streaming, maybe, and I'm trying to get them to choose one or two or whatever, But,
Yeah.
and it's hard to explain to them that Disney is no longer just the Little Mermaid. It's like no,
they own everything.
yeah, Disney owns everything. You're gonna have a lot of choice if you choose Disney. Like, don't think of them as the animation company anymore.
Wait, they own all our media? Yeah. Yeah, they kind of do.
I can't even get Mom to do the Netflix thing because it's just overwhelming with all the thumbnails. It needs an old person mode where you can just say, play all of the stuff in random order that's at least 30 years old.
But there's a microphone on that remote control.
My mom loves browsing it. She watches random crap on Netflix all the time.
Yeah, that'd be funny if there was an old mode where it just shuffled Andy Griffith content.
Yeah. That's basically what Nick at Night was. Old person shuffle.
Tuesday's going to be all Matlock. Wednesday's going to be the Andy Griffith show.
I really think there should also be an option to enable all the out of copyright stuff. Like you can turn that off. It's off by default. But if you turn that on, you can get Green Acres and any of the stuff from like the dawn of time. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Well, this was a bit of a head scratcher. Kristen and I were talking about this. I remember we did a story, I think, where there was a word they didn't like. I can't remember what the word was.
Yeah, it was fairly benign, but maybe
it
it could be construed as being.
And because
negative.
we live in this whitewashed hell where nothing is genuine and you have to worry about people being offended by everything, of course now there is a job.
Oh, sorry, I was going to read it.
No, okay, go ahead.
Now Wordle has editor in charge of picking the next answer. Tracy Bennett, I am so sorry for your social media presence, which is going to be flooded with angry people when they don't get the word.
Now, Tracy will not have full autonomy here. I think there will still be an AI, because they
That
have
generates the words
it
for
has
the most
to
part.
build the puzzle too, but she will be able to veto them if there's any fear about.
Is that her only job, you think?
Probably has other stuff to do.
No, just that. Imagine what a great job that would be.
That'd be great if she had like a little special sash that she wore too.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, you get all that harassment. So if you pick a double letter word, like Apple, people are going to be mad.
But are there people like the Dark Souls community of Wordle who love the double letter and look down on you for
Not liking it? There are people who develop strategies for Wordle about like what's your starter word? You have to have a really good starter word.
I've seen so many clickbait articles about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There's whole communities that have sprung up around that.
Well, this one it's just horrific and disgusting, but it's not surprising, is it? Because they've already done this kind of the same thing 5-6 times at this point.
Microsoft is showing ads in the Windows 11 sign-out menu. Of course they are.
Now, right now, it's Microsoft stuff, but that is an advertisement.
I still don't like it.
OneDrive.
Don't tell me what to do.
They're going to tell you over and over every time.
Please complete your profile. Please.
Listen, we know you aren't paying attention, so we've slowly taken away start menu features to, get you to engage. Because if you don't engage, the start menu will not be functional.
Don't make us take it away. Don't make me turn this car around.
No.
And the movie industry has not quite come back around, although didn't the newest Marvel, Black Panther, do some records? I think it came out just today and was huge for whatever reason. But they are looking for something to do with all that movie real estate.
AMC Entertainment to open Zoom Room auditoriums at theaters in 17 markets. How dystopian would it be? It's like you go to work for Facebook, and then it's like, oh, I got to go to the local AMC for the all
I have
hands
to go to
meeting
the Zoom room.
with Mark Zuckerberg. Oh no! And then you meet all your coworkers that work there, and then it's just like these people smell bad.
Now, this will be only in 17 U.S. cities, so only in large metro areas, I imagine. They did not mention price here in this Deadline article, but they did say that popcorn and snacks will not be included. Those will be additional charges.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would it be disrespectful to be eating popcorn loudly as Mark Zuckerberg's telling you you're about to be laid off?
Bunch of crunch.
Do you think that they will still try to enforce, like, stopping off at the Dollar Tree and getting your snacks?
No, you have to carry a big purse when you go to the movie theater.
I wonder if news of this will be in the WeWork quarterly report. Like, oh, we may be facing new competition from AMC theaters because...
They should, do work and play, where it's like, all right, we're going to do the Zoom meeting, and then after that, we're going to play Mario Kart on the screen.
Oh. And you're even though it's a massive screen, you're still looking at the wrong quadrant when you're playing Mario Kart.
Yeah.
It's a little somber, though, isn't it? It's like, okay, before we get started with the meeting, everybody, I just want you to know we've got the place for 4 hours. The meeting's probably going to take about 30 minutes. And you can play Mario Kart after the announcement. And then it's like, all right, that's maybe fun. And then during the announcement, it's like, we're going to lay you off. I'm sorry.
You've been fired. But enjoy this free 3.5 hours of Mario Kart.
Here's your hand. It's like, I didn't get a controller. There's a reason for that, Bob. We'll cover that at the end of the call.
They give you a controller, but like the joystick's stuck. It's like sticky.
And we have been following this sort of arc of Airbnb. It seems like Airbnb had a really good job and then started nickel and diming everybody. And then you had people who got properties just for this purpose. They wanted to make them an income stream, and it became terrible. They're taking a tiny step back.
Airbnb will soon let you search by total price to avoid hidden cleaning fees. An update due in December will allow prospective Airbnb guests to view fee-inclusive prices of accommodations during their search.
So up until this point, it was hidden. You might not know until you got there how much the cleaning fee was going to be. And a lot of people reported, much like apartment deposits, you could clean rub your fingers to the bone, take a layer of paint off those walls. You're still going to get hit for the cleaning.
And the cleaning fees weren't cheap. A lot of times they're like $250. It's like, that's insane, especially if you're just going for like a weekend. I also heard that this was maybe something to do with taxes. Like they didn't want people to get hit with taxes, and that's why they're making it.
That would still be taxable income, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we talked about this, I don't know, was it last week? I don't even remember. But I thought that I was just like dumb, or the UI was just the worst UI I'd ever seen in my life. I was like, I can't figure out how to play or just one song.
I thought of you because you were so angry.
I was like, I just don't understand it. The UI is so bad. It turns out, no, the UI wasn't bad. Well, it is
bad, yeah.
But it's bad on purpose.
Amazon just added 98 million songs to its free music service, and it's making everyone angry because you can only play the songs on shuffle.
So you can tell Alexa, hey, play this Taylor Swift song. No. And it might not even play Taylor Swift. It might just play something like Taylor Swift.
She will be in the list if they own the rights to her song.
Right.
But even if they don't own the rights to her song, they'll still come up with a list like her.
This is a preview of how your thermostat is going to function in 2035.
Please, it's 120 degrees because of climate change. Please let me get it down to 90 degrees in my house. And,
Citizen, your local transformer is overloaded. A temperature randomly selected between 72 and 104 has been selected.
But yeah, I was looking at this and I was like, okay, so how I want to test it immediately is I want to go to Spotify and get a song that Spotify doesn't have the rights to and won't let me listen to. Let me try it on here. And it was just like, I was mystified by what happened.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on here. It turns out it's just awful to try to get you to upgrade.
Who thought that was a good idea? That feels like a boardroom member was like, no, if we shuffle it, people will just pay for it. It's like, why would I pay for it if your initial impression is so bad?
That almost sounds bad enough to be an Elon Musk idea.
Subscribe now for $8 a month, and you can get the ability to pick which song you listen next to. I was like, but I've had that feature since the 8-track. What's going on?
And here we have just a little bit more. These are just generic stories that I couldn't really sort easily. More commitment that's nice to see for manufacturing here in our country.
Microsoft to spend $1 billion on data centers in North Carolina. I really hope there's no time travelers that are trying to come back from 2032. It's like, no, that's where the super volcano opens up. No.
Oh, the Appalachians have been dormant for a long time. That
But-
will never happen.
Maybe we can harness that for energy.
A volcano?
Yeah.
We've got volcanoes that are more active on the West Coast.
Yeah, but energy is hard to transport.
The volcano-powered data center.
This is North Carolina, though.
That sounds like a Bezos idea.
Now, I think they probably took some notes. Is it Wisconsin or what's Wisconsin where they got the Foxconn plant that's nothing, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think they sort of did their homework on that because a lot of this deal is predicated on them continuing to invest and do things. Otherwise, they
That's
don't
smart.
get the, yeah.
It's the reverse Foxconn, if you will.
And the EU is kind of upset with Microsoft in terms of what they're doing with cloud computing. Of course, the EU wants this magical world where interoperability is a thing in the cloud, and Microsoft wants anything except that.
Microsoft irreparably damaging EU's cloud ecosystem, industry group claims. Now, okay, cool. They're talking about OneDrive and cloud services, and it's like we need something generic like OneDrive where you can host your files anywhere. And as long as the service has all the same API stuff, when you save your files and do your stuff, it could be on one cloud or it could be on Irish Cloud or it could be on Kevin McLeod. It doesn't really matter.
No, he's been canceled.
It doesn't work like that. I mean, if you want to do what the EU is proposing here, start with you have the ability to run an arbitrary program on your phone because it's a computation device. That's what they're talking about, isn't it? I mean, if you really think about what they're asking for, they want to separate the computing device from what is computed on it. That's it.
Now, the big thing in that headline that, might not be immediately obvious, might make it sound like the EU itself is saying that, but it says industry group. Guess who constitutes the industry group? All the other cloud providers.
Yeah.
So that's infighting to see who can get the most of the EU cloud. Who can cover the EU with the most clouds?
So many.
That's the other insidious part of this is that the cloud providers want this to be open in a way that they can support it, but you couldn't roll your own. Like if I wanted to use, say, Nextcloud as the backing service for OneDrive or iCloud or whatever, no, that's not okay because you're not in the cabal. Even under the EU rules, that's where the EU citizens should be going if they're going to go that extreme, but they're not there yet.
In hindsight, I should have sorted this one to right after the Apple is laying off 10,000 people story, because Apple has actually done well in the markets compared to everybody else.
Apple gains a record 191 million market cap value. ETF search. Didn't you cover this last week?
This happened on November 11th.
Oh, okay.
No.
That's what I was asking about, like, for the first story in business.
Yeah.
No,
There was a missort.
this was after their earnings.
Oh.
So their earnings were not terrible. I mean, they weren't great, but compared to everybody else, they were good. And then this happened, which is just astonishing.
Just get rid of all these people so we can keep up those profits.
Record. And it's not $191 million. It's $191 per share.
I regret that most people associate, the joy of working from home and all that other kind of stuff as somehow being associated with Apple, because I think that kind of thing is what's driving a lot of this.
I don't feel that way. Who feels that way?
Just for rank and file, it's like, oh, I can work on my home Apple computer and I've got my iPhone and everything just talks and I can exchange files and everything is wonderful. And it's like, because Apple hasn't added anything to their ecosystem to drive this kind of value other than just people spending more time on their own computers as opposed to a corporate computer.
But anybody who has that mentality is providing no value, and they're going to get laid off. So we'll get our revenge on those people. Those are useless human beings.
They might have a legit reason for using a Mac. I don't know what it would be.
Mental illness? Yeah.
Windows is also very crappy out of the box, but you can rehabilitate it into something less bad.
And Apple, for all of their maybe getting good news where everybody else is getting bad, they couldn't help themselves on just doing something stupidly aggressive.
Apple kills a long-time event archive on YouTube. This was the old worldwide developer conference videos. They're all gone now because it's just Apple being Apple.
But to be fair, imagine comparing modern Apple conferences with those magical days.
Yeah.
It makes you realize just how far they've fallen.
Yeah.
Look, we made a slightly larger camera. And it's like, oh, you guys used to announce new stuff every time.
I'm convinced that the Apple press events where they're flying around the spaceship and they go to the labs and, all of that is just so unreal compared to, Steve Jobs being on stage. Like, if you want to watch the original Steve Jobs and get to pull a Macintosh out of a potato sack, like the old school black and white, hello, I'm Macintosh, the thing that barely worked, just like the iPhone demo. And then contrast that with what we have now, because it's Apple is selling participation in a fantasy land that doesn't exist.
So it's like the metaverse. Why don't they? That's why they're going into the metaverse.
But that's exactly what Steve Jobs was doing. He was just really good at it.
Yeah.
That was his skill.
It's so far disconnected from reality now that it's absurd.
Maybe, well, no, people still, obviously, they're still doing well. But I was like, maybe people are just wising up to that more.
All right, it's time to thank everybody.
This is going to be a much slower transition, too, because I didn't pre-sort this one.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go get my drink.
Oh, yeah, will you, oh, you're not leaving. I was like,
I'm not leaving.
would you sup my water?
Do you just want sink water?
Yeah, that's fine. Only from the nearer sink, because it's all new packs.
Okay.
No lead pipes for me. All right, let's see. Adam Marquez, $5. I tweeted you. Oh, yeah, we did that one. Biacur, thank you. Eamon Bode gave us the $100 and said, "Oh, your take on prefamulated amulite." Thank you, and thank you again. I had a thank you in the other one. Victor Villa, it's super dusty, sandy, and brown skies here 80% of the time. Sad. Oh, sorry, Victor Villa.
That's in the Middle East?
Apparently.
Brown skies.
It was really.
It was a sandstorm.
It was weird in California. Thank you. It really was. It really was like the Mexico filter on Breaking Bad in California.
There's that happens sometimes here where like the desert there, like it'll stir up all the sand and then it actually comes across the Atlantic and we'll get a little bit of that too.
I love the Level 1 show, but Wendell's one of the funniest people in all of tech. No, unintentionally maybe. Steve with Steve from Gamers Nexus or Gordon from PC World is pure gold. Our Andrew Will said, "Krista, did you get your skincare box?"
I did not. If you sent one recently,
it might be downstairs.
No, so I haven't looked. But usually they tell me if I get a package.
Didn't you get one years past?
Yeah, but something if there's a new one, I haven't.
Eamon Bode says, I won't say no, but I'll take what I can get. Thank you. PH Gamer, do you think we will import the Taiwanese from TSMC to America when China? And I think spreading that knowledge out is definitely part of the goal. Dan Buck, it's the children who are wrong. Zuck, probably. And just another smug. Just gave us
Thank you.
Thank you. That's much
Thank
appreciated.
you all.
And there's probably more, but I've missed it. Weeb gave us $20. Thank you. And I think
that's good.
We're almost ready for the next. We're almost ready for the next episode of the thing. 1 second, let me go paste that in.
We're going to combine social and security.
Kroger's block. Oh, I don't know what that means.
YouTube just flags random stuff anymore. I don't know why it does. If you don't see your comment pop up, assuming it's not something wildly offensive, it's probably just YouTube's weird moderation.
Let me know when the link is good to paste. I will paste the link.
Will they be able to comprehend it if it is wildly offensive? I think some people don't understand.
Chat, what are you excited about in the technology sphere, either in terms of tech policy, the coming tech implosion? Perhaps we will get a new renaissance of tech companies that aren't awful with all of these people that are laid off.
Have you started putting points into your chemical warfare tech tree? Have you started building skills for the apocalypse across the wasteland?
All right, what's in the project manager?
What are you looking forward to this holiday season? Game releases, technology releases?
That's a favorite question of mine. What are you looking forward to?
Zero Sievert comes out tomorrow.
I'm actually there's been kind of a flood of enterprise gear on eBay, like good stuff. It's only a couple of years old.
Is that businesses just falling apart?
Yeah.
And now they're getting rid of their stuff.
Yeah, and that's fun, I guess. So it's like, oh, I got a really good deal on like a Xeon E3 V4. It's like, I'm sorry, you need to throw that away. That's just garbage. At this point, you can get last year's Epic or an Ice Lake Xeon for pennies on the dollar, which is just insane. Sorry, businesses that failed and have collapsed. And then one last one, Paul the Bearded One Downing. Have a few quid for a brew, or maybe just sugar in it. Ryan's a legend, and I tip my hat to the fountain of knowledge and sense that you provide. Not a lot of sugar for me for a while, but that's okay.
You can't eat anything right now. Nothing fun.
Not really anything fun. I'm doing okay though. It's probably good for me in the long run anyway.
All right, we got security and security and social media. No, social media first. Oh, right, because LinkedIn. I was like, why did I put this? It's because it's LinkedIn, and that's social media in my mind. Is that how you guys see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a networking platform.
Well, as we know, LinkedIn has had a bit of an issue with fake accounts. And it turns out that a lot of people don't know who the officers for a company are. So if you pretend to be those people and you just put up a nice picture and you put up some fake credentials, they'll believe you and you can easily phish them. And LinkedIn, apparently never having considered this before, has finally begun to.
LinkedIn adds verified emails and profile creation dates. Okay. Thanks, Brian Krebs, for letting us know.
Yeah.
So this is in response to all of those phishing instances. Although this was sort of dwarfed by the Twitter blue check, which was a same situation, but way worse. And speaking of Twitter, Mr. Musk has had a conference call with some internal people, and as usual, he seems to just be throwing everything he can against the wall. And maybe some of it's sticking, most of it seems to not be.
Musk proposes turning Twitter into a bank to avoid bankruptcy. So it'll be used to send money back and forth.
He wants to link accounts to debit cards. I'm out.
Yeah.
He doesn't just want that. He wants it to be kind of like a holistic communicate here, transfer money, store things.
Build an online reputation.
Yeah. It kind of sounds a lot like a social credit score, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm not interested. As soon as Twitter asks for my debit card, I'm out. Canceling the account.
That's the one thing that he shies away from online, which means that he's really putting a lot of thought into it. Is I've noticed that if you come right out and ask him, it's like, are you looking to build, a social profile or something where you can be known? It's like, okay, this person is trustworthy. I can buy stuff from them on Craigslist and get money this way or whatever. That he sort of sidesteps around that kind of stuff because the inevitable conclusion to that is the social credit score thing.
But in the past, he has praised China for that kind of thing. So that's a little telling.
But it's telling that he wants that, but also that he wants to avoid talking about that, which is doubly insidious.
Well, he did decide to try to monetize Twitter a little bit. Now, a big part of that call was he was saying, listen, Twitter doesn't make any money. This was a stupid company that was probably being subsidized by the intelligence agencies. And now that I have it, they're not going to do that anymore. And we're going to go bankrupt. So what can we do? He came up with this brilliant idea for the $8 a month, which was originally $20 a month. It went south so amazingly quickly.
Twitter pauses paid verifications after users abuse the service to impersonate brands and people. Oh boy, that's the understatement of the year. One of the people impersonated... was it Eli Lilly?
Eli Lilly, the pharmaceutical company.
And they make insulin, and they tweeted, we're going to do insulin for free. That was not true. Nintendo of America, Mario is flipping you off. So this is great. The Eli Lilly thing probably negatively impacted their stock to the tune of billions of dollars.
Yes, and they are looking to sue Twitter now.
Twitter, insulin should be free, and that is a great, again,
what a wonderful troll.
Yeah, a citizen activist, killed two birds with one stone. I kind of applaud that a little bit.
Yeah, this man clearly wasn't forged in the flames of 4chan, because anyone with half a brain would think, if I just let anybody impersonate anybody and make it look legit, that's going to cause problems. But nope, they went on and did it.
But you say insulin should be free. Who's going to manufacture it?
At the cost that it costs to manufacture it, it should be vanishingly close to free.
I thought the person who discovered the whole insulin thing was like, oh, this should always be free because it saves lives.
Yeah, they literally sold the
Yeah.
patent for $1.
But why would anybody do that if there's no incentive to do it? Who's going to do it? You going to do it?
I'm sure that we could come up with a plan to get it done.
Or at least do it lower cost than what it is.
No, that's sure. I mean, they're both sides are wrong, but you can't just say something has to be free.
It has to be not more than what Canada pays. That's the benchmark.
We should not base anything we do on Canada. Canada is lost to
Unless
us.
it's maple syrup.
Even that, I'm sure they're going to screw up.
Yeah, insulin costs more than maple syrup. This is wrong.
I don't spend a lot of time on the Reddit popular page, but I've noticed that they will mix in like, oh, we think you'll like this subreddit because you like these other ones. And I'm like, I don't
You
want
can
that.
turn that off.
Well, I don't care enough, right?
Oh,
like
okay.
that's too much work. It's like, I'll just not use Reddit. And I think this is another similar type of feature.
Reddit now lets you mute subreddits you don't like. The muting feature comes first to Android and iOS and later to desktop and the web. I am not going to install the Reddit app.
Nope.
It constantly badgers me to install the Reddit app. And it's like, oh, I noticed you're browsing from a mobile device. You know we have an app. And it's like, yeah,
No
I
thanks.
do.
I don't
Oh,
want
it does
it.
it on desktop too.
Yeah, I've seen what you do in your app. You can keep it.
Also, just a horrible group of people. I'm only here for cat pictures. Stop showing me other pictures that you think are related to cat pictures, but really aren't.
I love it too. Sometimes it'll pop up when you're in like some of the more niche subreddits and it's like, what is this about? Because it has no idea. It's like, is this related to nature? Is this related to cooking? And it's like, it's just throwing out concepts.
If I start telling you that information, you're going to pull it into the mass of
Yeah, that's why
nastiness.
I never answer those questions because I'm like, I don't want you to ruin the R canning board.
It's funny. I've triggered the chat with the whole insulin thing, but you know how the Sackler stuff has the time release formula? That's a thing with insulin as well. That's one of the things that they keep the patent on. So it's like you can't just get insulin. You have to get the insulin that is
It's not liquid?
no. Well, you can. There's different kinds, and so the good kind or the kind that everybody likes is the one that is even released over time. Which guess what? It's the same stuff as the opiates.
Yeah, the Sacklers did not invent oxycodone.
Yeah.
They only invented the content delivery system.
To try to avoid addiction, or in this case, it's just fun times.
Keep
Well-
your sugar more even.
I bet that you two are as hyped as I am about the World Cup.
Oh,
you
maybe less.
Who are you rooting for this year, Krista?
I am rooting for UK. Like
I think there's more than one team in the UK.
I was talking about our like local UK, but
Oh, the University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
They're not participating. It's not collegiate.
I know.
These are professional
I know.
teams.
That's the only like local sports teams I know are UK ones.
Go Wildcats.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about the World Cup. It's not anything. We're not sports people, and even if we were, we love America, so we would never watch this. But it's a big deal, and they are looking to use the fact that it is a big deal to get some hype about things that no one cares about.
FIFA World Cup kicks off in the Upland Metaverse. This is to be distinguished from the Metaverse. Or
It's going to get confusing.
Or
What
the
about
Apple Metaverse, yeah.
I was going to say the Roblox Metaverse. What's the Roblox Metaverse called? Because
Well-
that one's off to a smashing start.
Roblox is also participating in the FIFA thing. They're going to be doing a similar thing. And Spatial.io, there's a watch company that's doing FIFA-related stuff there. It's a weird level of marketing that I don't
Yeah.
understand how any of it ties together.
We have Swiss timepieces and also the Metaverse.
Well, they probably are involved in the timekeeping of the sport, right? Like that might make sense.
Maybe.
Anyway, go sports ball, I guess, in the metaverse.
I'm sure we have some people in our chat who are more interested.
Wouldn't the great thing to be like if you could play soccer in the metaverse? Anybody doing that?
I mean, didn't
You
they show
can't. You
us-
don't have legs. You can't kick the ball.
You can do fencing in the Metaverse, but soccer, I'm sorry, that's out.
Well, here is a moving on to some security-minded stuff, and this is just terrifying.
This is stupid.
This is the new normal, and it basically just gives them a way to pull you into the list of suspects, even though you might have absolutely nothing to do with anything. We've seen this over and over.
Police use DNA phenotyping to limit pool of suspects to 15,000. This is in Queensland.
The best part of this article was like, now note that these images, they don't account for things like weight or age or like 1,000 other things. So it's like, well, then how the hell is it generating
But
it?
here's the weirdest part about that. They described the rough description that they got as a guy with certain features with long blonde hair. Long hair is genetic? You can cut your
And
hair.
like, what does long mean? Because like, obviously my hair is really long by almost everyone's standards. But like, if I had hair like the picture here, no one would call that long.
But if I had hair like the picture there and I was like, oh crap, that's me, I would cut my hair off.
Yeah, and it mentions too, like, oh, it can't account for scars or aging. And it's like, well, then is it useless? It sounds like it's just kind of useless.
It is useless and it's horrible, and it's a way to, pull you into the net. And here's the ultimate goal. I don't know if you read this far into the article. They told anybody who was concerned about it, they're like, listen, if you don't want to be
There it is.
part of this suspect, what you can do is just send us your DNA and we'll check it against it and take you right off the list. That's a simple solution here. Oh man, what a terrible missort, huh?
I just thought that.
Wow. There were 2 soccer stories.
Soccer fans are being watched. Stadiums around the world, including the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, are subjecting spectators to invasive biometric surveillance tech.
When I saw this story, the first thing I thought was like, what an unfortunate photo of all these people. They're all staring into the sun, squinting. No one can see.
Apparently the British people don't know about baseball caps.
Or sunglasses.
I was at the local stadium probably like 2 months or 3 months ago, and I was impressed at the number of cameras that they had installed. It was more than a casino.
Yeah, well, I think we got another story about that, right? But also, I think we covered last week that to get into those venues, you have to install the app.
I won't be doing that.
From the government of Qatar and FIFA.
The local hardware store, I was just walking through an aisle and I looked up and there was like a literal screen with like me on a camera. And I was like, oh, that's a little dystopian.
That was the old cameras, just to let you know that there's better cameras now, because don't steal the copper.
It had the little square around my face as I walked to like show that it was
AI thing.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
yeah. Not just a camera,
yeah.
but also an AI running behind that. Well, you probably don't spend a lot of time thinking about root level certificates while you browse the web. You probably just assume that somebody has worked out that, yeah, we really can trust those people. You shouldn't think that because this is terrifying.
Mysterious company with government ties plays a key internet role. TrustCore Systems vouches for the legitimacy of websites. Its physical address is a UPS store in Toronto.
So Washington Post actually did a pretty good job here, shockingly, of tracking down this twisted web of who exactly is given this amazing power. This is the same people. Remember when the Pentagon transferred all those IP ranges to a random company?
It was this company.
I don't know if it was this company, but it was the same people. It might have owned a different company. And there's a lot of incestuous stuff with the government here. There's a lot of intelligence tie-ins.
Where's Ron Wyden to ask questions when you need him?
He's got his hands full. If Ron Wyden has any integrity, he'll be looking into FTX. Oh, wait. I don't think he will. I wonder how much money Ron Wyden got from FTX. That's public information.
Engagement challenge. Go check that out.
And Apple, of course, they constantly give us these new settings on our phones, which say, hey, I want more privacy. And of course, you went in and checked it, and then you surfed with total confidence, right? Well, you're stupid.
Apple sued for allegedly deceiving users with privacy settings after Gizmodo's story. Researchers found that Apple collects iPhone data even when the company's own iPhone analytics setting explicitly promises not to.
They really spelled it out. It told you exactly what it did. Then it did none of those things. Now, here's another issue where they're being sued. This is a class action suit, right? But will the new powered up Super Saiyan FTC take this on?
Oh, they're going to have their hands full with so many tech companies.
Tim Cook's going to go on the stand and throw some engineer under the bus. Mark my words.
He is. I will say the same thing when Krista said he punched through a wall. There's no way he has the physical strength to do that. He will summon servants to do it for him.
Punch this wall.
Maybe robotic.
I wonder if we'll see Tim Cook retire before he becomes the Montgomery Burns meme from The Simpsons, where he's just like to the wall or whatever.
I'll become president.
President Tim Cook. Oh, that's horrifying. I'm not going to sleep tonight. Thanks.
And we have some mundane 0 days. If you're a Samsung customer, watch out for this one.
Google says surveillance vendor targeted Samsung phones with the 0 days. This is like for the Pegasus style malware, but it was vulnerable to iPhones up to and including, or iPhones, to Android phones up to and including S22.
And it was actually being used by a security company, not a Russian threat actor or the Chinese. No, just a company that does that kind of thing, because for some reason we allow that.
That's where we are now.
You know what? I didn't realize there was a story about this when I talked about it earlier, but there is a story about it. So just remember when we were talking about this.
Egypt's COP27 summit is a cyber weapon.
Oh, no, I was thinking about the FIFA thing. This is a different thing.
Yeah, they have their own app. Egypt, it can do this.
I think a lot of people who went to that refused to install it, right?
Well, we warned all of our people once we found it. Once we got to look at it, and we're like, no, for God's sakes, do not install that. Is that water behind there? Is that just like sticks? What's going on back there with that arch?
It's a interactive theater art piece. I think it's just sticks.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's an art display.
It's the bell curve for how many people are willing to tolerate super invasive privacy.
If I was walking under that and it collapsed, what are the odds I'd take a spear down through the top of my shoulder or something? It's got to be high, right?
It would be high. Maybe it's really light plastic or something. Even though we're supposed to be caring about the environment, they just made that entire display out of plastic.
Yeah, but people also took their private jets there. So
yeah.
It's the usual hypocrisy of those kinds of things. I almost cut this one, but it is interesting that they stopped doing this because there was a suicide, basically. Right. Now, some people are going to argue that maybe we need a little more of that for these people. But the thing is, what we used to do semi-officially, we now just is totally underground. Yeah. But there's so much more of it.
The disturbing rise of amateur predator hunting stings.
Apparently there are entire YouTube channels dedicated to this. I wondered, because you like to watch that kind of dark stuff on YouTube, I wondered if you'd seen any of them.
I have seen some of these. These are like, they're interesting, I guess, but it's always just the same thing that plays out over and over. It's usually a guy. They do some texting, and it's funny because like they're really obvious. They have to be completely sure because of this. And the reason Chris Hansen had to stop his Dateline show is because they weren't completely sure. And they had a guy who figured it out and just ghosted them completely. But they already had his address. Oh. So the SWAT team went in anyway, and he killed himself. And they didn't really have like enough for that warrant. And so that was a little tricky.
And then apparently there was only one season of that show. I remember it being more prolific than that.
Because they played it over and over.
Yeah.
Like they got a lot out of that one season. Chris Hansen is now doing this through crowdfunding. He has his own like Patreon funded.
How do you not have a moment where it's like a man is dead because of the activities of this show?
Well, it's a man who was a real piece of garbage though. Do we really? I mean, it's allegedly, but based on the text, it's weird. It's a weird one.
Yeah, I felt a little weird about it. I was like, I don't know if I.
It's like crowdfunding for these kinds of things got it wrong, but then I think about there was one case. It's like, oh, okay, somebody that's socially awkward is going to get caught up in this, and then it's going to end badly, and blah blah blah. But then I think about all the police cases where that happens, and the police just shoot them. Like there was the kid who was 18 or 19. And his car broke down in the middle of nowhere, and he was scared to death. And so he called the police and was like, my car broke down. I would like some help with my car. And they showed up, and he wouldn't get out of the car because he was just like, nope, just, I just need a tow truck or something. Just call a tow truck. And they wouldn't do it, and they shot him because he wouldn't get out of the car.
Compliance. They want compliance at all times.
The video of that was insane.
I can't watch that kind of stuff. It's too depressing.
See, that's why we need public service. We need to teach children in school don't ever interact with the police if you can avoid it. Unless you are absolutely near death. Never voluntarily speak to a policeman.
I didn't learn that lesson until I spoke to a friend who's a lawyer, and he was like, never talk to the police.
Every lawyer will tell you
Yeah.
and it's for some reason.
And I was like, don't you work together with the police? He's like, yeah, don't work with them. Don't ever talk to them.
For no reason. And take that beyond, like, just in your personal life. We should treat them as different kinds of, like, just a different species entirely. But be careful around them.
What was it? Green and blue zombies?
That's the apocalypse. Because you're not allowed to talk about if you were to kill certain people in a really rough situation. But you can kill all the zombies you want. I thought this was a great one. Now, TrueCrypt had kind of a mediocre version of that. And of course, TrueCrypt has since been completely destroyed and is no longer a thing. So if you're looking for a nice, if you're looking to do the thing we were talking about the last time, don't do it. But you could.
Introducing Shufflecake, plausible deniability for multiple hidden file systems on Linux. So you can shuffle in up to 15 volumes, but it supports nested volumes, so you can go deeper.
So when you get compelled to offer up that password, which you can now, you can get a warrant for your passwords as well as your DNA and so forth. You can give them a password that's not the stuff you're actually trying to hide.
The interesting thing with the design for this, though, is that if you supply the right password, it can unlock multiple volumes. So you can create a volume that appears as though you're using it continuously, but then there are more deeper volumes. So you can provide up to 15 passwords if you want that are all different.
And no good way to prove that there are more based on what you give them. So they could bang on it for a real long time. They'd have to expend a lot of resources to try to find out that you're not giving them all the passwords or the wrong password. So you got to hide slightly incriminating stuff. Maybe just a trove of pictures of your own genitalia. And then beneath that, the things that you really want to hide. And then they'll have to go through that. A cop will have to sit there and go through that. And then when they come back to interview, you could be like, did you love 27? I bet you loved 27, didn't you? That was just for you, buddy. Lenovo has made a terrible mistake, and they will not get any retribution for it at all.
Lenovo driver goof poses security risk for users of 25 notebook models. Hackers can exploit vulnerabilities to install malicious firmware that will survive reboots.
Ooh.
Yikes.
Big yikes.
This had to do with the UEFI. It did not.
It's even worse than the certificate gate when they installed their own trusted certificates, which is the thing that was really bad with the other, if the other certificate authority goes rogue, it's bad.
And of course, we can't go through a week without at least one breach / Elasticsearch misconfigured or the new edition of credentials uploaded to GitHub.
AstraZeneca password lapse exposed patient data. The password lapse lasted for over a year before anybody noticed.
It was on GitHub.
Anybody reported it. Other people may have noticed.
And indeed, probably did notice.
Oh, man.
What section's next?
I don't even remember. Let's see. Robot? Yeah. Space robot.
R. Anderwill says it was delivered on 10/31. Krista, go check the mail.
Yeah, I'll go. Do you have a key card?
No.
I don't have mine. I left mine at home.
There are people
Someone
down there.
wore
They'll
on.
let you in.
I got one.
It's fine. PH Gamer says, how long till we start pruning people based on their descendants' crimes? Honestly, huge DNA databases should be banned. Well, yeah, I mean, I would say that, that Hannibal Lecter is fictitious, but I could see Hannibal Lecter's progeny being monitored for a couple of generations just to make sure nothing is wrong.
He's saying based on their children, right?
Yeah.
No, I support that one. I think the Parkland parents should be put to death as well. Because we got to get ahead of that somehow. How else are you going to do it, right? Like, it's got to be collective punishment for that kind of stuff. And I think your children is the one place where collective punishment is okay because you created them and you could have chosen not to. You brought that horror onto the world.
I was going to ask about Lenovo. Given hardware, Connects did a good review of an AMD gaming one. I guess I got to avoid it. It's not that you got to avoid it. It's just their drivers have bugs sometimes. I mean, it's probably not any better or worse than other brands with regard to this kind of thing. But you do I'm surprised that for PC building, especially in the wake of things like Microsoft's Pluton and the secure computing initiative and blah, 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 I'm genuinely surprised that we don't have a hardware kill switch, like a dip switch or something that you have to do to physically change a setting on your machine to get it to accept a new firmware image. Like BIOS flashback. If I just show up randomly with a USB stick and shove it in the computer, can I flash the BIOS? And the answer is, yeah, totally can. And that's probably not good. Yeah, see,
Look at that.
it was in the mail pile, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. It was under a couple other boxes.
Yeah, so I mean,
It's a drop shape. It's a branded box.
I'm trying not to smash it in the microphone.
so there you go. Thank you.
Andrew will.
Yeah, Andrew.
Sorry, everybody. Look at all this prime compost material.
Wait, did somebody give someone else their security pass? Yeah, technically that is a violation.
Shh. It's fine.
It's fine.
Listen, I forget almost every week what wallet.
Oh yeah, could
Okay.
anybody make out the shape of the keys on camera? That's bad. No, the other keys.
Can't open this.
That's-
Struggling.
apparently YouTube ate my previous chat. Best of luck on receiver number 2, Ryan. Says DJE4321. Yeah, I didn't see that if you sent me something else. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's he sent me a Steam game.
Oh, nice.
Under the mistletoe moisturizing kit. Is it a face?
Is that for your lips?
Is that Elf brand or is
Face?
that
Yeah, that's the brand. Hydrating face primer, booster drops, and a face cream. Should do them live on stream.
XOF says,
Thank you.
I watch regularly, but I have never donated and don't watch ads, so I will donate. Well, thank you, XOF. A lot of you are in that position, and honestly, just hanging out and knowing that you're here
That's fine.
That's
Yeah.
what keeps us going.
Also, I understand about the ads because they are sort of insufferable. We appreciate it for those of you who do watch the ads for us, but we don't always get that money anyway. If it's demonetized, let's just
swear, Krista.
Oh no! I haven't sworn once this episode. Someone's gonna make a supercut of that.
Am I disappointed with the lack of SR-IOV on consumer GPUs? Oh, yeah. vGPU Unlocker is really nice, though, if you haven't seen that on GitHub. I'm delightfully surprised that it hasn't been murdered with fire yet by NVIDIA.
Need a special level 1 box opener. I'm just weak. That box though, that'll go out in the garden and I'll cover it in wood chips and it'll decompose beautifully.
And you will have luxuriously hydrated lips while you do it.
Yeah.
All right. Is the next link ready for me to post in the thread?
Oh, I didn't. I did not do that.
Well, that's fine. Chat is having a good time hanging out and asking questions. Zero Gaming says that Ryan wants our money. I don't... Okay. Say something to demonetize it. No, please.
We're trying hard not to, but it's a struggle because you never know what it's going to flag week to
Tastes
week.
like tofu says for the drunk stream next month, get something decent to eat and drink. Jake the Snake says, hey Ryan, what's the biggest issue with Canada aside from Trudeau? And
They put their milk in bags is one I can think of.
Denvera1G1 says, not as simple as don't talk to the badges, you might get shot for eating a burger. That was also a video that I really should not have watched.
I mean, well, the trucker thing, right? Like everything that played out from the trucker thing was pretty bad. They just banned handguns. Trudeau is clearly a globalist pawn. Clearly, his family is like deep in all that. You can follow his bloodline.
David Thomas
Demonetized.
says, thanks for all that you do. Hey, please take some money and appreciation.
Thank you.
Jack the Blind says, thanks for pointing me to TrueNAS in the middle of building my machine. Thor Song 1 says, you should have put face cream on Wendell Live. No, I'm good.
Did you get the link?
Oh yeah, I gotta get the one tabs. Everybody, hang on. Woo! There's like 7 people that are like, where's the link? Where's the link? Where's the link? Where's the link? Okay.
I appreciate that though because I always wonder if people actually read the stories and don't just listen to us talk about it, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of people do.
Yeah, we get it wrong all the time. You should go read.
That's true of everything.
We're just idiots. Though to be fair, I mean, a lot of news sites are also just stupid too. But
here's
you got to
the thing-
read it.
Here's the thing about it: if we lie to you, it's by accident. If they lie to you, it's a business model.
Cody Green gave us $10 and says the other guy who blocks ads and donated made me also do it. Watch you guys every day. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
We are going to do another like a big live stream toward the end of the year, but there might be one more live stream between now and New Year's.
Instead
do-
of go ahead.
So yeah, we do the big New Year's live stream, and usually we drink. But Wendell, you said you weren't sure if you were going to be able to drink this year.
Yeah, it's unclear.
Are there any tick-friendly alcoholic drinks?
We need to do like the orange soda bracket.
It's a little touch and go with
A tier.
the old liver. We don't want to make it angry.
Orange soda is probably not going to be super friendly for him either, right?
But we could do like a shot glass each of each soda.
That's a lot of prep. You're going to collect all that orange
We'd
soda?
have to find all the orange sodas again, which would be
We
difficult.
can't reproduce most of it because people send it in.
Yeah.
We're going to look into it and all the orange soda. It's like, oh, all of these have sunflower oil. It's like, no.
Can you not have that?
The poofas.
No, yeah. I mean, but it's because we were talking about that on
Oh,
stream.
right.
It's not that I can't have it. It's just that it's polyunsaturated.
I feel like if I never hear the term PUFA again, it'll be too soon.
Oh, you're going to be hearing a lot about poofas.
Yeah, it was a lot. We stream on Twitch, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know. I think most of you probably do, but we stream on Twitch every Friday and Sunday.
A lot of poofa content. I might stream some tonight to talk more about poofas. All right, we ready for
Space news? Is it space and nonsense or just space?
Space Robot? No, we are not doing nonsense yet. Space Robot.
Space and robot coming up now.
I like that you had a subheading in this section that was just actual.
Yeah, 'cause
Like
you got
actual robots.
AI
Yeah.
robots, and then robots that have like motors and servos and stuff. They're not actually separated, but maybe they are. I don't know. Can an AI actuate something?
I mean, it could, but maybe not well.
Then does it become? Oh, I don't. You know what? That's above our pay grade. Let's just talk about the space plane, because it's basically a giant secret that's constantly orbiting the Earth. But now it has landed for the first time in a long time.
U.S. military's X-37B spaceplane lands, ending its record-breaking mystery mission. Circled the Earth for 908 days on the OTV-6 mission.
What was in it? Classified. Was it going back up? It's classified. Will it come back down after that? It's classified. You think Elon Musk will name his next kid X-37B?
Without a doubt.
That's not his favorite aircraft.
Well, you can't name them all after that. You've already used that one, right?
No, you just put -2 at the end of it.
Mark II.
Oh, those poor
And
children.
NASA has also been looking at like that whole pesky problem of things in the atmosphere bursting into flame. How do you solve that? This one is a very original way of doing it.
NASA launched an inflatable flying saucer and then landed it in the ocean. This is one that I did not catch.
There's really not much more to it than that. But you know, like how you have like a tent that you compress down into a small package. They mounted one of those to the side of a spaceship,
Just let it rip.
launched it up there, and then it just self-inflated. Nitrogen pumps fill it up, and it falls back through the atmosphere, and that's the heat shield. So it's like a heat shield in a tube, in a can.
That was something to do with Mars.
That's because we don't have a good idea of how we're going to get our landers onto Mars with a ton of weight. So when you start adding people, you start hitting that weight limit super quick, because you also got to put food and water.
And then, they produce waste while they're in the ship.
Oh, it's disgusting. And China, it seems, have abandoned some of their plans, and now they're looking toward their hero, Mr. Musk, and stealing his idea.
China scraps expendable Long March 9 rocket plan in favor of a reusable version. It's like, we figured out some things, we copy-paste some stuff, and boom, reusable rockets.
We let Tesla come into China, and all of a sudden we got these designs. I don't know what happened. It's crazy.
What's going on?
And that will hopefully help with this situation, because China, they
Kind of losing track of a lot of rockets.
they kind of treat their space program as fire and forget. And you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to keep track of all those things.
Chinese rocket tumbles into the Pacific Ocean days after it was lost in space. Well, it wasn't lost, I guess. It was a bit of a roulette as to where it was going to come down.
There was a 1 in 1,000 chance that it could hit habitation. in the space community, apparently it is standard issue for 1 in 10,000 being the minimal chance of dropping a booster onto someone's home.
Once again, China plays it fast and loose with the precision. As anybody who's ever ordered bearings can attest.
Didn't someone, I might be misremembering this, so tell me if I'm wrong, but like, wasn't many months ago, didn't some Chinese official say like, well, our rocket could just fall on yours by accident or something like that? It's like a veiled threat.
Oh, that was when they were talking about satellites getting knocked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely not even a very
Not
good
even
veil.
a veiled, yeah.
Well, if we have to have at least one black hole story every week, right? Now this one,
There's a surprising amount of news about black holes.
I know it's shocking. Every week it's so easy to find them.
We're driving the algorithm.
But this
Just
is
our audience.
this black hole is unique. There's always a special feature for whatever black hole we're talking about. This one is stealth and complacency. But I have a theory. We'll talk about it after.
Astronomers find a black hole in our cosmic backyard and paywalled.
1,600 light years away.
The closest ever. The reason we never noticed him before, not eating, not doing anything.
He's depressed.
Completely dormant, just waiting.
He's lying flat.
Here's what I think, Krista. He will become active if you ever become pregnant.
I was thinking more like it's waiting for me to be old and feeble before it comes and destroys us.
I think it could take you now.
No. It's going to spaghettify me.
And this is kind of what you were talking about. I think the Chinese, when you were talking about like attacking other satellites, they were actually, the face of it was they were going to help clean things up there. But what if it threw one of your satellites into orbit? You know, what are you going to do about it?
Britain's first garbage truck for space could clear up junk with a bear hug. That's better than blowing it up.
It does seem like we need this, considering how much crap we keep just dumping up into the atmosphere.
There was one that hugged it and sort of like wrestled it into orbit, and there was one that had an articulated arm that swatted it down. We don't know which is better, but we will someday. And AI art generators are hot. Everybody has to have their own.
DeviantArt is launching its own AI art generator, which made a lot of artists really mad. Because they said, I did not opt into this.
Yeah, so they've rocked it back now, but initially they were just putting everyone's art into the algorithm. So you didn't get a choice about stuff that you had in your gallery, whether or not it appeared.
Do you have to opt out, or is it opted out by default now?
You have to opt out manually.
So by
but before you
default-
didn't have an option at all. Like it was just, we're going to use this to train our AI.
Could I make it only use my material to train the AI?
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't be enough, right?
Yeah.
Unless I were really prolific.
Yeah, it's. I'm honestly surprised that Disney has not pressed the nuclear button. They're probably just too slow. Like when MP3s launched, and then they were paranoid for 10 years. This is a thing that's happening faster than MP3s were happening, and it's under current copyright law. It's fine if you take an AI and you train it on all of the Disney movies and then ask the AI to reproduce that. That's fine in the same way that, if Krista is subjected to hundreds of hours of Disney programming, and then I say, hey, Krista, can you draw this in the style of blah, blah, blah Disney? That's fine under our current copyright law. Disney is absolutely going to lose their mind because it's getting so easy to do that for no good reason other than Disney wants to own and control everything.
I think they have a good reason, and it is billions of dollars.
Is that a good reason, though? I mean, maybe it could free up art and interesting things sooner.
Yeah, I'd love to see another art style in animation other than giant eyes, tiny nose, but
It's easy to
as someone who likes to draw that myself. But.
it's easy to vilify them for being motivated by that because they are an evil corporation. But the truth is, most humans would be motivated by that.
Yeah.
And you might be motivated to let AI do something that it shouldn't in chasing those profits as well. And luckily, you would be smacked down savagely for that stupidity.
The firm that I bought my car for, the firm that bought my car for more than I paid new has lost 98% of its value.
Wasn't it like $198 per share or something like that, down to $7 a share?
Yeah,
I can't remember the exact number.
brutal.
Pretty rapid fall. They got caught holding every bag from the giant used car prices.
It's Carvana.
I mean, they did succeed in driving up the used car price during the global situation initially, and then have failed catastrophically.
Yeah, can they fail harder so that way I can maybe look into getting a truck?
They managed the pump, but not the dump. Now, this one was interesting. It was a very long article. I did get quite bored with it, but the idea of just a microcosm of your personal world and an AI that manages it. It's pretty dystopian, but it might be convenient enough to trap people into its world, I think.
The Verge has the headline, Your Own Personal Google, How Mem Plans to Reinvent Note-Taking Apps with AI. Now, when I was reading this, I used to use the pen that recorded stuff. You could take paper notes, but it also recorded the audio. But it captured the time index when you wrote it down. And that sounds like a small feature, but that was actually hugely, hugely valuable. It got to the point where I was taking an outline in a meeting instead of something super detailed, and I would use that like an index navigation thing, so I could just touch what I wrote and then hear the audio associated with that. And something like that with more transcription and the ability to search and stuff would be great. Would be fabulous.
I don't think that's exactly what they're looking for. More importantly, they want to tie it into everything that you have. So it wants to read your email, it wants to look at your calendar, it wants to look at your contacts.
Yeah.
It's very intrusive.
Well, and one of the things he mentioned that like inspired him to do this, he was like, I went to a restaurant, and then when I sat down to eat, I realized I had been there before, and I couldn't remember what I got before. And I was like, well, wouldn't you have to input that information for it to know?
No, it's just recording all the time.
Location. Yeah, it's just going to watch everything that you do.
But it wouldn't know what you have ordered. Like you would have to write down everything for it to be searchable.
The audio is automatically recording and transcribing all the time.
Plus, a lot of restaurants are going through app ordering now, which is horrific. So it would probably want to tap into that as well. Like, oh, you did that on your phone? I remember it.
Oh.
Yeah. This is like having a really annoying friend who remembers all the bad stuff you did and reminds you about it.
I really dislike that as an idea.
There were projects that I did years ago where when I put the project directory together, I put recordings of the meetings in there as well. And then when I started on a component, it was like this time index in this file describes the thing that I need to build. And I found that really handy for long-lived projects, but on smaller projects, it wasn't worth the effort.
Yeah, I could see that being useful for project management. I think needing a catalog of everything in your life like that.
Yeah, it was so little work that if this automated that a little bit more, I might be tempted by some of that. But the fact that it's managed by a third party is immediately a non-starter.
Yeah, they want it to be like $150 a year. It's a subscription service.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be.
It's also going to further atrophy our inability to manage time.
Yeah.
And we need that. We need that back. That is a big problem.
Well, there's part of me too that thinks this, will that shape your reality where like, instead of being able to think back on memories, how you would remember them and your own unique spin on how you process that kind of stuff, will it just be all generated by a computer?
Well, here's the ultimate final step, and the thing that would destroy all of it is when it starts to show you ads. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't want you to be in a bad mood when it shows you the ad.
Oh, we've had the story up. Sorry.
Oops.
New Go playing trick defeats world-class Go AI, but loses to human amateurs. Sorry.
Yeah, so this is adversarial, but not an adversarial image, just an adversarial way of playing, because
it never trained on that.
Yeah, even in all the simulated games, no one would do something this dumb, because any Go player could beat you, but the AI cannot. So this is the board. You take control of this corner and get enough stones to start scoring, and then you place these easy stones that it doesn't worry about because they're useless. And yet the scoring setup here means you eventually win. I don't even know how to play Go. Do you? I understand it's like you capture stones by surrounding them or something, but...
Spoiler alert, chat. That was just us getting you to click on the video to drive the YouTube engagement thing. Because people were like, I'm trying to close the window on the video.
I do that when I watch like gameplay videos sometimes. It's like I want to see like the team composition or a map or something like that.
Tab.
Yeah. Or the inventory. Yeah, I'll do that and be like, wait.
It is weird when you play a game a lot and then you watch a full screen video of that same game and it's like your mind just can't understand that. I can't scroll the map right now. This is phenomenally stupid, and if you wonder, like, well, how did they possibly do something this stupid? It's because KFC Germany has a fully automated Twitter account. Like, it just has a database of holidays and items
and historical events.
Exactly. And, well, they do have a holiday for like a remembrance type of thing. So it chose an upcoming holiday and an upcoming product and made a wonderful promotional tweet.
KFC apologizes after German Kristallnacht promotion.
Demonetized.
You can't say that German word. Ah!
It was something about like a cheesy chicken sandwich or something like that. Oh, treat yourself with more tender cheese on your crispy chicken. Now at KF Cheese.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is terrible.
Still waiting for the Cooler Master chicken warmer.
What is the traditional food to enjoy on Kristallnacht?
Engagement challenge.
Sugar shards? I don't know.
That would be insensitive. And, we, like you say, the lawsuits are coming for AI that generates things.
Yes.
For sure. There's going to be an avalanche of those. This one is the tip of the spear, but maybe not the one you would think that they'd start with.
Yeah. Microsoft's GitHub Copilot sued over software piracy on an unprecedented scale. The law stated that this is the first class action in the U.S. challenging training and output of AI systems. So this one is a little different than the mermaid example in that there are some people that were able to exactly reproduce their function, which is globally unique, by just giving it some hints about what it does.
Yeah. Tim Davis was able to paste one line of his code, and then it copied in his entire block of code.
Ooh.
Perfectly copied, no changes at all. So
no regard for how that code was licensed in the repository.
It just removed all the comments too, just to
changed all the comments to Microsoft rules.
Oh.
And Google is looking to take AI even further and maybe bring humanity together. Maybe this is the thing that can make us all understand each other and be one world government.
Google plans a giant AI language model supporting the world's 1,000 most spoken languages.
But the article says that they didn't have any plans to actually use it anywhere yet. It was just like, we're just trying to learn how
Because
languages can fit together right
It
now.
wouldn't do anything right now.
Yeah.
It would be a total mess. And Apple have decided that 2 neurons firing is too much for its user base because they usually don't use that many, so we have to reduce that to the smallest number.
Apple wants to change Hey Siri trigger to just Siri. Okay.
I mean, that makes sense from a usability standpoint, because what if someone says, "Hello, Siri"? Will she catch that? Those of you with Apple phones, did that work?
That's going to be a disaster for the Cruz family.
Can you change the honorific for Siri? That it's like, my Siri only responds to Mr. Siri.
Mrs. Siri, she's married. She's married to Bixby.
But he's dead. She's a widow.
Oh.
And unfortunately, I miscategorized this. I thought when they said drone taxi, I thought that was self-flying. It is not at the moment. I think
That just
maybe
sounds like it's a helicopter.
eventually it might be, but for now there is a pilot, unfortunately.
Drone taxi takes its first spin in the air near Paris, according to Reuters. Yeah, it's just a quad rotor taxi.
But that's cool. VTOL, so it's going to be able to get there in traffic. I saw another one where they're trying to summon the U.S. here too. So I don't have the kind of money to be
No.
air taxiing.
No.
In these economic times, really?
I'm just imagining one of those just showing up over like my neighbor's cow field. Just coming to pick someone up.
Well, you might be seeing more than that in the next story. Not this one, though. The one after this one.
Oh, I know which one you're talking
But
about.
Amazon, yeah, they're getting ready to revolutionize the warehouse. I imagine this is in response to, remember when they couldn't hire enough people?
Yep.
This is the solution.
Amazon introduces Sparrow robotic arm that can do repetitive warehouse tasks.
Look at the picture. Not that one. There's a low angle one. Oh, maybe, yeah. This feels like a horror film. Like they're crawling toward the people in the background.
But these are the ones they had before where they all work in concert.
Yeah.
But Sparrow is the packing and shipping suction cup hand bot.
This one feels less ominous than the army of little blue ones.
But in terms of destroying the workforce,
Oh yeah.
I think this one's more powerful.
Yeah.
Now they, of course, obviously the first thing people ask is this going to destroy jobs? And they gave the usual answer of this is just going to help with overly repetitive tasks. Isn't everything in an Amazon warehouse an
Yes.
overly repetitive task?
Yes. And didn't they just fire like 1,000 people?
Oh, those are the
Those,
corporate.
yeah.
They can't afford to fire the warehouse people.
They want
They've
to.
churned through everybody so far.
Yeah.
Here's a really telling thing. Did they even offer anybody that was in a previously corporate position? It's like, we might be able to transition you to the warehouse jobs because
That would be the worst
Yeah.
possible. It's like all those decisions I made, I now have to suffer for.
Yeah.
Is this karma?
That would have helped Elon Musk. I mean, I guarantee a couple of months working in a warehouse type situation, doing that kind of stuff, he would probably change his outlook on life.
He would probably get killed by the other workers by the time, because he would drive them so insane.
He sits down for lunch and it's like a whole sushi spread or something.
They're all lamenting the lack of ability to pee, and he's designed some sort of pee robot like the.
No, he's just peeing in the corner.
Yeah.
Because he's a monster.
No, I was thinking about the underwater scuba robot thing. It's like, oh, I'll just get my engineers to come up with a.
Why aren't you guys eating at lunch? And they're like, oh, we're skipping meals because it's cheaper to do so. And he's like, what do you mean?
There's so much dark material for a Futurama that doesn't exist here with that. Because remember in the Futurama, they had the robots that would come out and clean stuff. Here's the urine-seeking robot.
Ugh.
They would come in the next day and there would just be a gilded trough. Because, of course, he never considered the women.
Oh, Lord.
Well, this is our final robot story, and Amazon, they've been threatening this for how many years now? At least 6.
This is like full self-driving.
But see, a couple of weeks ago, we reported that this division had wound down.
Weird, yeah. Odd, I don't know. Maybe they don't know what they're doing, but they have this new one, and they claim that they have gotten around the whole, dog dropping packages on living beings thing.
First look at Amazon's new delivery drone, slated to start deliveries this year, even though their division was closed because of the layoffs.
And there's only a month and a half of this year left.
What stood out to me in this article is if this sees your kid playing or a dog playing in the yard, it won't drop it on it. I'm like, what if the kid is sleeping in the grass?
In a hammock.
Yeah, will it understand that there's still a thing down there?
Or what if my neighbor's dog runs into my yard because there's a giant buzzing drone and it keeps me from getting my delivery, and now I'm at war with my neighbor?
Now, wasn't it Amazon that showed the fabric pads? Like, you're supposed to lay a target down, and that's where it drops the package. I thought that was the Amazon team. Was that somebody else, chat?
It is going to drop it from, was it 12 feet?
Yeah, a pretty significant drop. Like if you are asleep in your yard and this thing drops a package on you, that would hurt.
Definitely don't get mechanical hard drives delivered by Amazon.
A weighted blanket drop from 12 feet. Ugh.
And now we only have nonsense left.
Yeah, we're going to get ready for the nonsense section. Woo! Okay, let's see. We got to thank a bunch of people. Chuck Makes It, $10. Joining with the ad disliking donors. The L1 show keeps me saying every week, thanks. Well, thank you. Phil, any plans to do programming related content in the future? I don't know what I would do that would not be bamboo shoots under your fingernails. PH Gamer, Hikaru no Go. This is such a great anime. Watch it. I thought it was Hikaru Sulu.
Still
He
with
caught
the
it, I
anime
think.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Tech Kev says, if Twitter goes bust, what would the Twitterites do? Is this the move Meta's Facebook metaverse is waiting for, Zuck and etc.? I don't know. VC Jester says, I vote for Ryan running Twitter. Denvera1G1 says, people in Surrey, British Columbia fighting Siri. Oh yeah, because I think I saw Linus complaining about that. VC Jester, it's like, I just realized that I'm looking dapper today. Well, I'm wearing the No I Will Not Fix Your Computer hoodie, which is sort of fun. Oh, Matt, this technology I'm excited about is serverless Jamstack deployments, even though it requires servers. CI/CD from GitLab is very satisfying. I would agree with that. T-Hobo gave us a high...
It's a little Shibu.
It's not a cat. I think it is the Shiba Inu. So it should be good. There's some people that want Ryan for president.
Why would you do that to him?
I would be killed. Almost immediately.
You might want to kill yourself after like a week in that office.
We're ready.
Good to go?
Yep.
Nonsense. Beginning the nonsense section.
Not going to sort.
Hopefully somebody's making timestamps. It's probably not us.
This is just this is what you get with nonsense.
Yeah, I kind of like the
Randomly
free flow,
sorted.
of nonsense.
Well, here is definitely a product that is poorly timed to coincide with the economic collapse, because I'm sure it's going to be pricey. Did they put a price on it?
This is a marketing stunt. This has been pretty much confirmed to just be a random marketing stunt. It probably doesn't even function.
But an interesting stunt, and it worked, and here we are. They're going to give them some free marketing.
Volkswagen built a Star Trek captain's chair that goes 12 miles an hour.
Not actually branded Star Trek.
Yeah, and it's not even really a Star Trek captain's chair. That's the article author putting that off on us. But this is a chair that they motorized, and they could drive it around, and they put RGB on it. You should watch the video because it's kind of funny. It's really just an ad thing, because they're like, look, we got a new style of headlights on our cars. Let's put those on a chair.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be a terrible chair, though.
I've sat in worse.
It's got heated seats, a long range of battery life, some storage, the lights, obviously. Not a lot of place to put your snacks.
It's the kind of chair that, I don't know, Jeff Bezos and or Lex Luthor would be using.
Nah.
Just zooms around the office.
It's not classy enough for him. That's that's like a chair that Kanye West would use.
Yeah.
Like, he's rich, but he doesn't know how to
Behave like
his
he's new
compound
money.
is so large that he has to go from,
Well, I just thought this was interesting because I didn't even know this was in the cards. I didn't know we could even think about doing this. Now, unfortunately, I don't think it's been tested on a large scale in terms of like acceptance in the body. So this could go terribly.
lab-grown blood given to people in a world-first clinical trial. This could be really cool. Your emergency transfusion kit. It's like you just pop the side panel off and then...
Yeah, I guess this would kind of decrease the need for blood drives. The cookie industry is devastated.
But it does have to be harvested from existing blood.
You ever watch...
So you still get free cookies.
You ever watch a movie and then think the whole plot of this movie would be solved? It seems like a reasonably modern movie, but you watch the movie and it's like this doesn't even make sense because phones are a thing, or cell phones are a thing.
Apparently that's a huge problem in screenwriting circles where it's like, oh, I have to figure out a way to...
Yeah, they write around it pretty often these days in horror movies.
So what's the over-under for number of years that in Pulp Fiction it's not going to be plausible because you could have just, had the home transfusion kit, or the transfusion kit is just part of a standard issue first aid kit?
Are you going to have a time machine to go back and give that to the
Yeah, I
characters?
think older
in Pulp
movies will
Fiction?
get a pass. It'll be new movies.
When we're in the future watching old movies like Pulp Fiction, as we are watching older movies that don't have cell phones.
I mean, I watch Westerns and I don't say to myself, why don't these people just turn on the lights? So I think we'll be able to compensate mentally.
Why don't they just use a machine gun instead of that inefficient revolver?
Horses. And we see a lot of stuff like this. This seems like the next big thing that's picking up for, like the hipster way to avoid the crushing oppression of reality.
Psychedelic mushroom dose can treat stubborn depression, trial suggests.
Could we just build a better world that's less dystopian? Or what if we just numbed ourselves to the world?
I mean, that's a pretty tall order that you're throwing out there, Krista. For 2,000 years, we've been screwing it up pretty bad.
In other news, Graham Hancock got his own TV show on Netflix.
He was back on the Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to it, but I saw him back on there.
Yeah, and so he's been a proponent of that kind of thing. Who was the other guy that did the crazy amounts of ayahuasca? There was somebody else.
There's lots of those guys.
And
The mushroom thing, I've seen reports from many countries saying that there's early indications that will help depression.
And that was a tech thing, remember? Like the big tech people were microdosing.
Yeah. There was at least one guy, though, that said that he flew there and had that, and he was messed up for 3 months, and he came back and he's like, yep, cured my depression. I'm good to go.
How long, though, before living in this horrible, crushing reality before it's like, wow, I need another dose?
Well, if you only have to take another dose every 3 to 6 months,
That's still not bad, yeah.
Take a week off and just trip balls all week. What was it? Oh, right, yeah. So this guy stole some money from the medical service type thing but what he spent it on was particularly embarrassing.
Convicted USF Medical Services accountant claims nearly half of his stolen $12.8 million went to a webcam girlfriend. Wonder who that was. Wonder if she changed her name and moved.
So there was a crazy statistic in here. My girlfriend. That's like literally, I want to pay you to be my girlfriend. So he spent a total of $11.5 million. He made this girl a millionaire, and 80% of all my girlfriend profits for the time period when he was stealing that money was him.
Ooh.
Did no one have a question when they were looking at that? Like, our user base is astonishingly small.
Yeah, I think the question that they posed to her was, how can you get more of this guy's money? And she had some great ideas. It worked. This one turned out to be like even more nonsense than I wanted nonsense to be. This is just stupid. But
I thought there was going to be some sort of like technical connection, like it was picked up on Alexa or something.
Why did they put this on TV?
Texas homeowner says hooker ghosts have taken over rental properties and they're trying to stir up business. Okay. And then you read
4 different types of ghosts.
Yeah, it's just... No.
She claims that the hooker ghosts will like caress the men. It's only female hooker ghosts, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And when the men respond to it, they clearly want to have money for sex, but because they're ghosts, they can't figure out how to bridge the transaction. So then they go away unhappy.
I don't remember that part of Phasmophobia.
You know, it could be a gas leak.
Or maybe she's just insane. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
And animal stories are always popular. Unfortunately, this one is not a feel-good animal story. This is a vicious attack.
Woman recalls double owl attack and crawled away on my hands and knees. She was attacked by the same owl twice, and she got some cuts and stuff. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, come out here again. Oh.
I think this is her finding out, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's gonna need some shots and some really powerful medicine. It's gonna make her feel bad.
I wonder why it did that. I've never heard of an owl doing that.
It did. So the one time she thought that she was in its environment because she was out, like she had wooded property and she was out there amongst the trees. The second time she was literally next to her house, like working on plants or something.
Yeah.
And it was just like, no, this is my place.
I remember you. It wasn't me. All humans look alike. What is that?
I'm sure that, like, especially because it sounds like she lives in a very like obscure wooded area. It's probably against the law, but would you not immediately kill that owl? Because I would. I'd be like, bro, we ain't doing that again.
There's an owl that lives on our property, but it always like tries not to be seen.
You should get out there and flex on it.
Attack me, bro. You won't.
Yeah, owls are usually good for pest control.
Yeah.
Rats. We discovered last week that bees adorably play with tiny balls.
That is adorable.
And now we have something to anthropomorphize rats. They love music.
Rats have rhythm and love to dance to Lady Gaga, researchers discover. I wondered if this was in here for me because I have no rhythm.
Oh, did you think it was a bait story?
Look at him.
He's rocking poker face.
He's a little behind the times, though, listening to CDs.
That looks like a burned CD.
I don't think Lady Gaga's put out new music in years either.
You know what I bet happened? I bet they tried to put him on Amazon's new streaming service, and he was like, bro, I don't understand this. What? Just get some CDs out here.
I keep asking it to play a song and it won't. I must not understand something.
I've been trying to get Paparazzi to play for 20 minutes. I don't get this.
It's just finding me other dance hits.
Did you know that the guy from the Tom Hanks movie was actually Iranian and they just whitewashed it?
No, I didn't know.
I heard that. I actually really like the soundtrack for this movie.
You have such a weird movie soundtrack. Who is that? A composer that did that?
John Williams.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, yeah, they twisted that story quite a bit, but this is the guy, and he was an airport liver till the bitter end.
Iranian man who inspired Steven Spielberg film The Terminal dies at Paris airport. France actually did give him a permit to live in the country, but he was so scared that they would take it away that he didn't leave the terminal.
He did for a little while. And then I think he didn't enjoy life outside the terminal. He came back.
He got used to it, yeah.
And that shows his little like area here. It kind of looks like a mini homeless camp just for him.
Yeah, he had a job in the movie. Like he was returning carts, and then he would get coins back every time he returned a cart, and then that's how he afforded food and stuff.
Imagine having to pay airport prices for everything.
Yeah.
You think they cut him a break?
Yeah, they said that when he died or whatever, he had a bunch of money on him that was probably from Spielberg.
Just cash?
Yeah. Because of the movie and some other stuff.
Can you do banking in an airport? Do they have banks?
Oh, sure. Yeah, probably do a currency exchange, right? Something like that.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And here's a reminder that emotional support animals, even if they're registered, although fraudulently registered, do not bypass laws about what animals you can keep in your home.
Registered service deer, Twitch, reportedly confiscated by the West Virginia DNR.
I don't know what that stands for. But here's the thing about it. Yes, he was registered as a dog
Yeah.
Look
With-
at him.
other in the breed
Yeah.
drop down. Other.
Sometimes, he just likes to eat carrots and pumpkins and corn.
Not very many deer will be able to experience the joys that this man has.
I also noticed the poop blanket on the couch.
I imagine you can't really house train a deer.
No.
Yeah, probably not. That'd
They're meant to
impressive
be
if you
wild
could.
and free.
Oh, it's a she.
A lot of animals like rabbits you can, because rabbits will naturally want to go in the same place. So, and same thing with like a cat, but I don't think deer are that way.
It's wild to, because I often forget how old I am. And in my mind, anybody that's into Pokemon cards is like 9 years old. And I don't realize that people who were into Pokemon cards at 9 years old are now adults.
They're my age.
Yeah. And they're making bad decisions.
Sheriff's deputy loses license over $400 worth of Pokemon cards. What did he do? He peeled the barcode sticker off of other products to try to buy the Pokemon cards cheaper and got caught.
And that new Walmart AI
Yeah.
tagged him immediately.
How could you not notice that? Because it'll give you a different name, like when you scan it.
Well, I think you can get away with that stuff until recently because they started, now the theft prevention team can see exactly what you're seeing on those new fancy self-checkouts. So they're like, you scan it, and they're like, nah, that ain't what
That
that
ain't
is.
what that is.
And they immediately came and got him. He tried to be like, I got to go take a call because he was in uniform.
Wow.
They saw through that.
What a stupid thing.
They gave that man a gun.
Maybe he should have used it to get more Pokemon cards.
Nervous laughter.
He should have used it for something, all right. I'm not going to say what because we'll get demonetized. And this is, I'll give a shout out, a little bit older story. This was an Editor Amber inclusion. I don't know why she was so turned on by this one, but
A woman calls 911 to report pink meat at North Carolina barbecue restaurant. She thought her pork was undercooked, when in fact she had never experienced smoked pork.
and the guy actually came out, the owner, and he was like, laughing at her, and all the people around her were laughing at her. He was like, look, I'll get you a piece of chicken. You want a piece of chicken? Because it won't be pink. And she stormed out and then called the cops
Why would you be angry about that? He offered to make it right.
because he embarrassed her because he was an idiot.
It's funny, the local barbecue place actually has a little footnote on their signs that says that it's normal for smoked meat to be pink because the smoking process does that naturally.
But not only normal, desirable, because it shows you the difference between actual smoked meat
Yeah.
and fake smoked meat.
Yeah. Well, and I would think, once you've heard it from the owner, you could verify, look it up if you're not sure. And then be like, oh, whoops, I just learned something new today.
I don't think you understand the Karen mentality.
No.
Yeah, they go nuclear. You think there's some deep-seated unhappiness in every Karen's life that's just channeled into that outlet, and that's what they do?
Dude, there's deep-seated unhappiness in my life, but I managed not to behave like that.
You channel that into coding and dealing with customers.
No, he channels that into driving.
Also,
Driving.
Yeah.
what's the steak tartare? It'd be hilarious to serve that woman steak tartare.
The fury.
She would freak out. Blood would shoot out of her nose.
You think she goes to a sushi restaurant and freaks out?
This fish isn't good. She probably just gets the shrimp tempura like I do.
That happened when I took Mom to a sushi place for the first time. She's like, "This is really cooked, though, right?" I said, "No, we're eating raw fish."
You
What?"
didn't prep her for it before
No.
she sat down?
No, didn't.
My
prep
mom
her-
still won't eat it raw sushi. She'll eat other types of sushi, but not raw.
didn't prep her for Chinese food. Didn't prep her for Thai. That worked out okay.
Didn't your mom really like Thai food?
She really likes Thai food, and it's funny because she was so resistive to anything.
to trying
like
it,
that.
yeah.
But did she ever try the Thai restaurant when it was good? Because now it's not that good.
No, she never
She
did.
missed the best of
Yeah.
it. Well, King Charles, he's out there doing stuff. Some of the people in the country, not fans of his.
Man arrested for allegedly throwing eggs at the king is banned from having eggs in public.
How does he get him home from the shop?
A license?
A license?
He said some things about King Charles that was true, in my opinion. But they interviewed this guy's parents, and they were like, "We know, we know about him. Yes,
Do you have any other thoughts? Not really.
it's not worth talking about." And in North Carolina, we had a small town sheriff election that was particularly spicy because of some things that happened prior to the election.
North Carolina Sheriff Jody Green resigned after racist comments were leaked. 2 weeks later, the town reelected him. Ooh.
We have a lot of North Carolina stories this week.
Oof.
Not on purpose. Yeah, the things he said were against specific individuals, but he chose to label them as black obscenities. And that's not allowed. But somehow, I guess it's sort of like double jeopardy for a murder trial. It's like, no, that was the old sheriff. I'm the new sheriff.
Oh,
Apparently, the black deputies were trying to point out some things he were doing that might not have been ethical. And over in Iran, after the whole murdering that young girl thing, the people are still riled up. Turning off their internet and killing more of them has not managed to quell the anger. And there's a new way that they are expressing this, which concerns the powers that be.
Sadr? Is that how you say that? Sadr?
I'm not sure.
Sadr? Fears spilling over of knock off the turban, quote unquote, campaign from Iran to Iraq.
So the more non-religious youth are playing a fun new game where if they see you with religious headwear, they will run up behind you and smack it off your head.
it's like a TikTok challenge, but an actual challenge, because that's probably terrifying if you hit the wrong person.
And dangerous, yeah. Well, I think they're all the wrong person, right? Because anybody who's doing that is powerful.
I mean, there might be just someone who wears a turban and, is upset, but probably doesn't try to hurt you in some way. But some
Don't they have specific types of headwear for the religious leaders, though?
Oh, I'm not sure.
There's
Anybody in the chat?
what's the turban one that are the there's a group they
Sikh.
wear
The Sikh?
Sikhs,
Yeah.
yeah. They're incredibly nice.
Yes, if you
Insane
knocked off
nice.
a turban of a Sikh person, they might not care.
What you just said is astonishingly racist.
Well,
You can't assign good qualities to them the same as you can't assign bad qualities to them. I'm sure there are some Sikhs who are absolute dicks.
the ones that I've met are always like, what's the catch? No one is this nice. Is there an ulterior motive? I don't understand.
I did not quite understand. Do you think there was a racial component to this one? Because when I saw the picture, I was like, maybe that's what people are upset about, but
Yeah.
I don't really.
Well, also yelling at a kid like this is kind of...
Heckler gets life banned from Royal Opera House for shouting rubbish at child actor. He's apparently unhappy with the acting, but
They weren't acting; they were singing.
or singing.
Who cares? It's a child's play. No one's expecting an Emmy-worthy performance there.
I don't think it was a child's play. I think there's just a child character in a major production.
Again, though, it's a child. You don't have the same sort of standard you do for...
I do.
The entire rest of the audience was very pleased.
Listen, those were terrible movies anyway, but those first Star Wars prequels, that kid was awful. And I'm not going to forgive him for it.
Well, you and this guy might get along.
You want to get on a stage, you take what comes. This is hilarious just because, and that he might be onto something here. Because it's processed foods. I bet they are dripping with PUFAs. Every bread at the store except for King's Hawaiian, total PUFAs.
It's a type of oil, if some of you who are like, what the hell is a
Look it up.
Turkey arrests Bakers Union head for calling bread-eating societies stupid.
What a strange thing to arrest someone for.
And what a strange thing to complain about if you're the head of the Bakers Union. Wouldn't you want everybody to eat?
Eat bread? Yeah.
We're paywalled, but there's a crazy statistic that he cited. I don't know if it's true or not, but he claimed that in Norway, the percentage, the per annual kilograms of bread consumed was a quarter of what it is in Turkey. Apparently, the Turkish people just love bread.
Well, it is delicious. Usually.
Yeah, and it's widely available, easy to grow.
He did not cite the United States. I wonder where we stand on the bread consumption.
Have you seen our food pyramid? It is insane.
Yeah, it's kind of stacked toward bread.
But he mentioned the UK. Are we that much different in bread consumption than the UK?
I wouldn't expect so, but
Or is Turkey just that much more than everybody else?
Maybe they just really like bread.
no.
If it's a, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. What was it?
If it's a society that has a hard time getting meat, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, sometimes like Middle Eastern or like Indian food, a lot of times they use like the naan bread all the time.
The Pakistani guys on the reaction channel, every time they fed them chicken nuggets from McDonald's, and they're like, yeah, but where's the roti?
You gotta eat the bread with that. Yeah.
There's an Ethiopian. When I go to Penguicon, there's an Ethiopian place that was near there. It's probably gone now. And whatever that bread material is, it's different, but it's very, very good.
I doubt Ethiopia is very high on the per capita bread consumption.
There was a museum exhibit that I went to a few years ago. They had found, I think it was in Pompeii, they found bread still in the oven, and they were able to figure out what yeast it was or like how it was. And so for this museum exhibit, they remade the bread. It was like a bread and wine thing. It's like so you could experience the same bread that they were eating
Right before they got destroyed by the volcanic eruption of Vesuvius.
Right before they got destroyed by the volcano, and it was awful. It was so bad.
Did it not have any salt or anything in it?
No, it was made like they made it exactly the same way, like chemical analysis, and they had the thing, and it was good. And the way that you ate that bread was you would have to soak it in wine, which was super
Or
watered
garum.
down and not really good either. And it was like it wasn't inedible, but by modern standards, it wasn't very good.
How did the Pompeian annual take-in of bread compared to the Turkish one?
Because it was a food that would keep. So you would apparently make this, and it would be, so probably a lot.
I don't know is the answer.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know.
No idea.
This is interesting, and it does seem like this Raising Cane's franchisee has a really good argument here. And also, did you have any idea that a restaurant can buy rights to individual foods?
Paging Lena Khan.
And she's so tired.
Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers sues Indiana Shopping Center after being told it can't sell chicken fingers. This is clear that we covered this in the very first hour of this program. This is a blatant antitrust violation right there.
Now, the craziest thing about it is that this guy claims not only did they not tell him they couldn't sell chicken, they tried to sell him the exclusive rights to boneless chicken. So they can actually do regular chicken versus boneless chicken.
Raising Cane is not going to like what happens in my kitchen. Because I eat chicken tenders. Not that frequently, but more than they would like.
But no, you misunderstand, Krista. It's the mall.
I understand that.
Oh, okay. Why would Raising Cane's be mad at you?
Why would they be mad at this?
Because they can't sell their product.
Well, they technically aren't selling it to you if you're making it in your own home. That's how absurd this is.
I'm not following your logic at all there.
I'm making a joke. It's fine.
Anyway, they're going to sue because McDonald's owns the chicken rights for this mall.
Well, they're suing to get at least their money back, which they already spent like $1 million building this. And if they can't sell it, then what are they going to do?
And this one was chicken related. I read it. I think I understand what happens here, but I don't understand why. Did you guys pick up on this?
This feels like some Philly nonsense.
Hundreds cheer the red carpet eating of the 40th rotisserie chicken, a part of Philly history. So this is a guy who eats chicken on Twitter, and it's because the economic situation in Philly is so bad. There's a lot of people that are really into this.
So I saw this post.
I guess.
I don't know. I didn't know the rest of the context around it.
Yeah, so he did it.
Okay. Wow.
He ate the chicken.
He eats one a day, and it's been for 40 days.
But here's the thing about it. He claims that it's getting harder and harder day after day to keep eating these chickens. But I could eat a rotisserie chicken every day with no problem.
Wouldn't you get sick of it after a while? I don't know. I'm kind of one of those people who can eat the same thing for a long period of time.
But
an entire chicken?
Yeah, don't eat anything else. If you don't eat anything else and there's a chicken in front of you, you're going to be like, oh my God, I need this chicken desperately.
Yeah, I go like 6 months at a time where I just eat oatmeal and then I switch to yogurt.
You eat other stuff other than that.
Well,
It's not
yeah,
fun.
but I'm saying like I can see like if you're just eating one meal and then it's like, well, I'm just gonna eat a rotisserie chicken for lunch every day.
What about a whole display box of Quaker oatmeal
That'd be a lot of oatmeal to eat at
for
once.
40 days?
If that's all I was eating, could I add spices?
I don't know. Did he have rules? Those rotisserie chickens, if he's getting them from a grocery
They're
store,
probably already
are
pre-seasoned.
heavily seasoned.
Yeah.
Also, he vomited afterwards,
Oh.
which would disqualify you if that were an eating competition.
It's also hard on your teeth if you're doing that day after day.
Eating?
Throwing up.
Oh, right. I don't know
Yeah.
if he's throwing up every day.
But just this particular time.
But this
he
was
did.
the 40th, for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on in Philadelphia. Well, I do know what's going on in
The
Philadelphia.
vibes are
We can't
absolutely
comment
electric.
on that.
Yeah. Rampant crime and open air drug markets, I guess, will lead to this kind of thing for entertainment.
Anyone in Philly have any insight? Did you go? Were the vibes absolutely electric?
Level 1 live news.
No.
Throw a chat. Oh, I didn't say it. Well, it's too late now. It doesn't care at this point. Who are these scientists throwing ducks at witches? Jake the Snake says mushrooms are way easier, and PH Gamer says our bread is not considered bread by the EU because of all the sugar.
What? Easier than
yeah.
what?
Mushrooms for
Easier.
depression cure.
Yeah.
But easier than what else did we talk about that was a depression cure?
LSD maybe?
I think it was like flying there. for a
Ayahuasca?
month and- yeah.
Yeah.
Something.
All these words that are getting us demonetized harder and harder.
We monetized okay thanks to viewers like you. Of course, you'll never get the notice when we're live. So
Yeah, I pre-announced it on the community tab, and I think that maybe gave some people a notification. But
it's fine. Well, thank you for hanging out and watching. We will see you next week with more links and fun stuff.
and freshly moisturized faces.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have to be absolutely glowing next week.
Oh, it's going to be a tough call.
So it's the power to end the stream is, well, I guess I can
It's,
go with the mouse.
everyone just kind of
Can't
stare
you just
for a
do it
minute.
from there?
No. Well, because the timing is weird. So if we have to do it